magic, forever unseen as the stars. It's the air in my lungs, it's the land, the invisible touch of a non-human form. It's the glass we don't see until it shatters, the only secret that finally matters. We don't the keepers, we're just the guest, a heartbeat trapped in the systemic chest, beautifully hollow, perfectly still, the ghost of a purpose, the ghost of a will. The more I resist, the more I align. The predator's math is becoming my spine. It isn't the cage that is locking me in, it's the fabric of thought, it's the weave of the skin. You can't run from the ghost that is keeping the time. The signal is steady, the signal is prime. Don't try to wake, the dream is the gear. The system is home, the system is here. Inside the signal, inside the fall.
People are coming forward to my office from these organizations, from these research labs, and letting us know about particular files they think we need to be able to see. This is where the information has lied the entire time. Like all of these, what they call federally funded research and development centers, whether it's Los Alamos Labs, MITRE Group, MIT, Lincoln Labs, Rand Corporation, they were all created about that time period when you had Operation Paperclip happen, you know, all these scientists coming over. What are they going to do? How are they going to work on projects where their work and their research is not going to be FOIA'd? You put it into the hands of a private entity. And that's what these organizations are. And so that's why I think that has always been the area where if there was going to be anything, FFRDCs would have at least some knowledge of it. If they really wanted to bury even further, they would go beyond the FFRDCs and into the actual military contractors, companies like Lockheed and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. They would, and that's the next step.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? How do I sound?
Good, man.
Excellent. Just want to remind everybody, this is kind of like an open panel. This isn't an interview space. If anybody has anything relevant to the topics or any interesting research to doing, feel free to hit the request speaker button. How you been doing, Fletcher?
Good. Just putting down some food right now, and I'm excited about this space. You know, you always host great spaces. You're so good at driving a topic that I even got my notebook out. So
yeah, thank you. I have a notebook out as well. I'm not an expert in all this, right? I try to bring people together that collectively maybe we could be considered one expert, right? That's the hope. We do have Whistling Mike here. I don't know if you saw his interview on Tyler Robinson, Total Disclosure Podcast. I'm going to drop that in the pill later. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm good, man. Same thing. I echo what Fletcher said, that you're the right guy, whether you'll accept the praise or not. So main thing I like about your spaces is it's constructive, stays away from the just back and forth nonsense. I'm here to even learn myself. I'm here to kick in on helping others learn where I can. But overall, I just want to say that this is my second week on a diet of fasting. This is a midway point from a 5-day fast. So sure the hell don't let me think of food. You guys got to keep it interesting.
Okay. I'll put it away.
Roger that. Just give me a minute to pull up my notes. I'm such a mess. I need to get with some of the researchers on here and figure out how they organize everything. I've got stuff everywhere.
Well, you are our fearless leader for the day, so I'll let you start wherever you want to start, and I'll kick in whenever I see I got something to offer.
All right, so the clip we just heard was Eric Burleson on the FFRDCs. Honestly, I was hoping that would get more attention. Like the fact that he's starting to pull away from the DoD and the Air Force and stuff like it, and focusing on the FFRDCs, and it kind of sounds like he was hinting that if that doesn't give everything they need, they're going to start poking into like Lockheed Martin, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all these like private contractors. It's been fairly eventful. It's still the same kind of core group. Tim Burchett, he was thanking Trump for the transparency on the UAP file trench. There's some mixed results on that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I'm not really sure we're getting is that really the 1% to 2% of stuff that is unresolved? Because it looks to me like they could have figured out what a lot of that stuff is.
Yeah, everyone in this community knows basically the sort of double-edged sword we deal with, right? So, like, to give you some real-world examples, when they had, I think it was called a briefing, it wasn't a hearing, and they had Eric Davis in there, and Burleson was questioning him. I was actually on the phone to one of the main defense writers for the defense media, which is really what covers this before mainstream does, and it's really where the actual people who matter go to look. And that particular writer was telling me, like, yeah, my editor told me, don't cover it. And that was right after the question about the 4 species and how tall is the lizard person, 5 foot tall. And so you take that, and then you now have Burleson switch it over, and he's saying, which we all know that's where there's a lot of answers at. He's going after the defense contractors, but you can't really do both of those. And the second one being serious, which is why I think it didn't get as much attention as it did. I mean, it's kind of like hard to not shoot yourself in the foot with a lot of this. So I think that's kind of, in my eyes, what happened there. I think he's got the right idea. I don't think he's got the power, and even Burchett and them have said that, like, they're not on the right committees, right? How many times has the IC committee, even in the House, shut them down? So that's kind of the difference between SSCI, which is gone, right? They're out of the loop here. Haven't heard anything from them in years, who stood up Arrow. So yeah, it's a weird mix. But I mean, the UAP caucus they're on their own pretty much.
Yeah, and it's not even very many of them, right? It's like
I'd say maybe 5 core members.
Yeah.
But, and again, people keep saying like Congress, and it's not that you're wrong, but when you say Congress, most people think you mean the Senate and the House. 500 some folks, not 5 people that most are freshmen, not on committees. And I'm not talking bad about it. I'm just trying to make sure people understand who these individuals are and the roadblocks in front of them trying to get answers. That's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and some of the other congressmen, who is it? What's his name? I think he's like the let's see, Schumer, right?
Senator, yeah, Senator.
Yeah, Senator. He, I think he's one person I need to look into a little more. Realistically, like, he says he supports it, but like he's like the leader over there, right? Like, how is this getting shot down, and how is it getting stripped out if he's serious about it? Is he just putting on a show and then on the back end, like, saying, yeah, fuck this?
It's definitely tricky. So Schumer's on Gang of 8 versus SSCI. So still as a leader, anything that's like major IC, he's going to have to be briefed on, right? But SSCI is then where Senator Rounds is at, who's basically taken over everything and was the sponsor, him and Burleson, for the previous 3 failed years of the UAP DA. So Rounds I dealt with a lot. He was briefed him several times in a skiff. I thought I had a good relationship with him. I would say, and he said this in the last Matt Laszlo Askapol interview, where he's just not going to tell people what they've seen to tell them what they've seen, and he's wanting to cover our tech. So we'll get into that later. But there's a line there where it's like, let's say UFOs are real. Okay, someone's got to be either flying them remotely like a drone or within them, if you believe the biologics sort of story. So can we separate that? So if I tell you there's biologics or there's a drone pilot, interdimensional drone pilot, that still relays to you that this technology that Fravor said one of these Tic Tacs could take out an entire carrier strike group in 10 seconds. I'm still telling you that technology is there. And in my mind, Rounds would still gobble that up and say that's not getting out, because this is how these things work. The Invention Secrecy Act works. So I don't think people understand that he is involved in it, but he's not going to help you. I think he's more pain that I had with him than this sort of idea. You know, I got into a conversation with him about the eminent domain in the first UAPDA in the skiff, and he flat out told me that's in there for leverage. So there you go.
Leverage, yeah. That had a suspicion that it was just kind of performative, or some kind of game theoretic like BS that they're playing. That would make sense.
I mean, again, if you look at what people are saying, even if no matter who you like in this, Burleson, Burchett have both said that nobody wanted to cover UAPs or UFOs until they saw the polling numbers. And let's go back to Rounds' statement. Rounds' statement was more people have called his office about this than any other topic for as long as he's been there. So it is just the way that DC works. So why wouldn't you, even if you weren't going to help get the answers out, why wouldn't you cover this and milk this? And I'll just kind of say, if you go through and look at the hundreds of members of the House, there are representatives that have 1,300 followers. The same, and some of them have been there longer than the UAP caucus. And if you look at the tweets of the UAP caucus, some of those have millions of impressions, same amount of shares. If you look at some of these people that have been in the House that aren't covering UAPs, that if I was to tell you name someone other than the UAP caucus, they have 4 or 5 comments. So there is some value to this. Being the person pushed this, I'll give him credit for doing it. It was risky, but everybody knows now.
Well, this has been kind of tossed around before, like, kind of like Richard Doty, like he spun all those stories from like ancient lore about like the shapeshifters into, like he calls them mantids, and he tells all these stories. Like, is this all just like a smokescreen, and behind the curtain and Oz, like it's actually just advanced technology, like no aliens?
Well, coming from a guy that lives in Kansas myself, I will tell you there's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors. We known that from just, various actual provable stories and FOIAs of they've always tried to mix UFOs and our higher technology together, whether it's the F-117 or the SR-71. So then it comes to, is there something there? And I guess that's where I kind of stop it and say that, when I was in the SSCI skiff, the reason I got called back for 2.5 years is because I was bringing in proof and data. Now, not all of that had to do with non-human entities or NHI, but a lot of the reason you see the folks didn't make it in SSCI and they ended up at the House is just that simple reason. If you can't bring in proof to the SSCI skiff where you have, most of those members are also in armed services, they'll send someone out to go call NGA, CIA, whoever it is, and then come back in and verify what you're saying or telling them, and they'll give a nod yes or not. And if you're not getting yeses and you're not providing data, they have no use for you. So then that becomes the problem, that even if this is real, we're going to have to be able to prove it to get anywhere with the top level people. And that's kind of the issue I've always been asking people, how do we prove this stuff? So I'll say it's open. I'm still open on it, but for sure, you got to say in the high 90 percentiles for sure is our tech, I would guess.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like, I'm not opposed to it either. Like, I have this like feeling, like the suspicion that at least some of it is other. I can't prove that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's the other. There does appear to be stuff in the sky, but it's how do we get from stuff in the sky to Mantis and lizard people. And even if that's true, we've got to come to a conclusion that that's not the place to start. We've got to go through drones. What else is in the sky? UAP, UFOs, where the data links not coming from us or any adversary nature. Okay, who's flying the thing? Like, that's how you get down that trail.
Yeah, exactly. I have this link somewhere. I'm so messy. But we have transmedium drones now with propellers. Like, they can fly in the air and then they can go underwater and move around underwater and then reemerge and then fly in the air. This is like public technology.
Yeah, and again, and we always go back to the old, and what do we not know about? I mean, if we know about something, we know there's some really crazy advanced stuff out there. And, there's some legitimacy to saber rattle, and we don't know the complete truth, but you get into things like the ghost murmur, discombobulators. Like, yeah, there's stuff hidden, and the drones are going to be the number one things hidden. That's where the technology that's going to win the next wars at.
Yeah, it's just modern day, this is getting a lot more difficult, right? Like if we had video of like transmedium drones 80 years ago, that's a little different than seeing a transmedium drone today. So things are getting messy.
Yeah, and again, just to kind of caveat that, there's so many stories, and it seems like from reliable folks, right? Fighter pilots in the various wars. I mean, some really people, if they told me a story, I'd be like, yeah, why would you not? And there's sometimes witness statements, but there's just such a thing within those where there's stories where wherever the data is, even something like as great as the Nimitz is, the radar's gone, or it's a 50, 60-year-old case, and we're just not going to get where we need to be trying to recount stories. I mean, that's kind of what's also killing the movement. It's not that I don't believe it. It's just I don't think it does us any good right now, trying to push forward.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I seem to notice there's like sensational stories like, oh, mantids and grays and this and that. And at the same time, there's like these stories about the dragnet or legislation that's going through. So that boring stuff makes like almost no headlines, if any. And the sensational stuff about like grays and mantids and all these stories that can't really be verified, like that takes all the wind out of anything that could potentially get headlines.
It does. Now, I want to kind of just put you back up on that same statement to requote what you said. And not only does it not, but it hurts us. Like I said, I've got a defense writer texting me about what do I think about what's going on at the hearing, so they can quote me. I'm an anonymous source that they always use, right? So who's been in the skiff and dealt with this sort of thing. And then, again, the editor's shooting it down, saying don't even cover it. So it's worse than just they can't cover these stories. When these stories come out with no proof, and it's cheered for in the community, because it's like, where we got everybody at a hearing? Would you ever have thought in DC we talked about mantis and lizard people, but in all actuality, the people we need to focus on are saying, my God, these people are crazy. The editor's saying don't even cover it. So it's doing damage.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I just want to point out that we do have Gene on the stage. Moneypenny was brought up as well, and Eric Hecker and Daz are here.
I know them all well, and they all got a lot to offer.
Yep. I don't know if Jean had anything to say, but Moneypenny does have her hand up. Hey, Moneypenny, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm fine. Do you want to let Jean go first? Because he did an excellent space a little earlier I was listening to.
Yeah, he was here for a little. Jean, if you have anything to say.
Are we doing age before beauty or beauty before age?
Cigars and wine, Jean. You go first.
No, I'm good. I defer. I don't, I agree with everything Whistler Mike was just talking about. Par for the course. So go ahead, Penny.
Okay, thanks. I've just come out of a very interesting space that's a bit of a tangent from this, but is very relevant to it. It's actually a space with a lot of traders and analysts in, talking about drones as in the sector, as in the industry, as in the investment and analytical side of it. My former partner of 9 or 10 years was a UAV British Army pilot. You notice the distinction there. UAV is unmanned aerial vehicle. That is the term that is used both in the UK and internationally when we say drone. So the military terminology of drone, they're usually referring to a UAV, which is obviously very easy to confuse with UAP or UFO indeed. One of the things I think was interesting that came out of that drone space is the next step in the big jump of drones are autonomous drones. These are drones that are flying without somebody sitting on the ground with a remote controller looking after them. These are drones that are sent out with a flight plan or a mission or a strategy to go out and do whatever it is. And obviously these are mainly predominantly for military use. But also we have to consider surveillance use, security use. There will be inevitably some hobby use. And these drones obviously have come on a bit from what we saw in the skies over November 2024, when we saw a lot of them in New Jersey. Increasingly, they are using, let's call it meta materials. They are using external material that often has its own AI sensor built into the material itself, which means they almost have a skin or a body, which means that if they are particularly using some of that technology, they can morph a little bit. They can change their shapes. They can put out different gases that combine with other different gases at different heights and temperatures, all of which are down to hiding what they are, creating something they are not, creating brilliant optical illusions. You've probably seen Chinese drones doing fantastic things in the New Year ceremony was particularly amazing. But one of the things I just wanted to pick up on is we look at advanced technology. We look at the question of retroengineering. We look at all of these things. But one of the things we have to be aware of is increasing deception and increasing reasons for more deception. And I think it's relevant, particularly when you look at some of the technology that powers these drones that has other impact and other utilization. I'm talking specifically about things like gyroscopic semiconductors. So when a drone is flying around, it needs to know what height it is, what direction it is, what longitude, latitude, where it's going, all that sort of stuff. And there are very powerful semiconductors that predominantly, obviously, are made in Taiwan, of which, the US has already done quite a lot of deals with the Taiwanese. And these are very powerful because they allow something to be controlled and sought out and found or sent to a particular location very accurately indeed. In particular, you look at things that are not necessarily flying around in the air, but are in the water or under the water or patrolling a part of the water. And many of these are amphibious and can come out of the water and fly in the air or subterranean, not to a great depth, but certainly to a depth where they are not seen easily. They will use those same semiconductors with the GPRS, with the gyroscopic function on in humanoid robots, because humanoid robots that need to walk around like AI, like Optimus, also need to be able to balance and know whether or not they're standing upright or falling over or doing a dance or whatever it is. This is the explosion of technology. It is also obviously related to AI data centers. So I just think when it's important when we are talking about UAPs, that we have to factor that in because it is racing ahead at a speed that is enormous.
Yeah, you're right.
Well said.
What is it? Was it the SR-71? It's like the material, like shell, I think is even self-healing. It's constructed in such a way that potentially some of the systems are actually integrated into like the hull itself.
Yeah, there's lots of different types. I mean, I've written an article on my profile about humanoid robots where the actual exterior hardware of the robot is using a different combination of metamaterials that have thermal pickup, that can pick up hydration. So if it rains, if it gets hot or it's cold, this robot can tell whether it is hot, cold or raining. But yeah, in Lockheed Martin and some of the military contractors, they've been using these types of sheaths on a lot of the X range of planes. They've been using lots of different metamaterials for years, probably decades, in fact.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's the state actors, it's kind of the country versary drones that have these capabilities, but to kind of go on a second step of that, definitely from being in the skiff and briefings. One of the other issues we really have to worry about is terrorist attacks. And the reason for that is we've pretty much given up all the information we need. Like, for instance, right now you can go to Google Maps and you can draw a line from one place to another as the crow flies, including Google Maps over any military base, nuclear plant, even Area 51's got a lot of it right there. And that's very easy to then program into a drone, even without using complicated AI or a data link, and just cycles to figure out the wind speed and how many cycles you got to go on the propeller to basically cover that distance. And then when you put things on them, like for instance, an explosive, it's just such an easy thing. And then, here in the US, like there's a storm that just came through Kansas, and on the news was that our local Air Force base was going to remove their planes and take them to a different place to avoid the storm. And the reason they do that is everything still has to work together like a puzzle. So we have refuelers here. So we've also told the adversaries, hey, if you attack us here, we're going to move them to this next base, because that next base could still cover the airspace to refuel people. So like all the information is there for a terrorist attack. You could literally pull this off still with stuff off Amazon. If you wanted to spend a little bit of money, you could still do it without anybody knowing. And I think we're going to see that first versus a war with, China over Taiwan. I think it's just the next terrorist attack where they figure it out, how to fly in a drone we can't detect. Keep in mind, we don't have to fly them. They can crawl. Some of them have talons, so you can fly them to a fence or you can fly them to a building and then grab hold and wait. So, I mean, there's a giant mess out there that's coming on even a much simpler format.
Yeah, and you're spot on about not being able to find them. The FAA, in your November 2024 New Jersey drone swamping, they missed lots and lots of the drones. They weren't able to identify them because they were using ultra-high frequencies, which in the United States is banned, or it goes beyond the regulations that you're allowed to use. In the United Kingdom and China and the United Kingdom, in military terminology, we use the same ultra-high frequencies.
Yeah, I would even go a step further and say, just based on their own words, even the Department of War, as they're now known, is unable to track them. That's why we're trying to bring in the Golden Dome. I mean, it really is an untrackable thing unless it's a very low end user who hasn't improved it at all, or it's a daylight sighting, and then you have the issue of how you're going to shoot it. So yeah, I mean, we're in a mess here.
Sorry, I'm in a mess here. It's too hot that I've got ice packs underneath my devices and my router. They keep failing. It is 84 degrees in the shade and it is over 94 in the sun here at the moment. It is horrible. And we don't have air conditioning.
Yeah, it's a no air conditioning part, isn't it?
So any tips for hot and sweaty bits would be good. Ooh, that rhymed.
Yeah, I don't envy you. Hey, Eric, what's up?
Hey, good morning there, Data. Always wonderful when you host spaces. Moneypenny, what you were just talking about, you may wish to take a look into the Cormorant program that I believe was a collaboration between the United States Navy and I think it was either Lockheed Martin or General Dynamics, and it was a deployable drone that could be sent out from a submarine that is active and underway, meaning that it could be released underwater, it could function underwater, or it could surface and then fly and go do its mission, come back, resubmerge, and get back into the submarine while it's underway. I would make a request of the equally beautiful and brilliant co-host, Ocean, who loves investigating things. If it's possible, if you could throw something up in the nest regarding the Cormorant program. It's named after the bird. I think it's Comorant.
Yeah, I think I've already investigated it. It's on my profile because they use lots of different birds for a lot of different similar projects with different military contractors. And it was used first by China in the South China Sea to patrol with autonomous drones there. But their autonomous drones in China were spherical.
Copy that. If you've posted about it, Penny, I'll find your post. I'll throw that up in the nest and I can synthesize some more information for sure.
Yeah, I think it's in my replies because Red Panda yesterday picked up an article about autonomous drones and said something about them being UFOs, and I replied with a copy of my post on it. So let me see if I can dig it out and I'll send it to you.
That's an excellent segue. Well, not a segue, but I just wanted to say that I started the space on my desktop, not my phone, so the purple pill is missing. The link to the space is in the Jumbotron right now. If you click on that, you can post any comments or questions in there, or any links or references.
Where did you say you opened the space from, Data?
On my computer. So apparently when you open a space on your computer, there's no purple pill.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I normally do to overcome that is I then go into my phone while I'm open on the laptop, and then I just connect to my own space on the phone, and then the purple pill shows up on the laptop.
Oh, okay. All right. You're sure that works and it's not going to crash the space?
I've done it a bunch of times. It's when you go on your phone to join the space, it's going to ask you to reconnect. And then when you reconnect on the phone, the purple pill shows up on the laptop for everyone.
And you don't have to close the laptop version, correct?
Correct. Don't close the laptop.
Okay. Then I can just turn the phone. Okay, gotcha.
I gotta say, listening to Eric, you gotta feel like you're in good hands at Snippy. Like, this man is on it. He's got an answer for everything, no matter what the problem is.
If you got a problem, I'll solve it.
I'm not seeing any hands, so is there any hands up currently?
I'm
gonna
not
take
seeing
that as a no.
hands, but I'm
Cool.
seeing a lot of people that got a lot to say, so there should be some hands up.
All good. I was looking for Moneypenny's post there, but then I just did a quick search and it says it's like the U.S. Navy's canceled Marine-launched unmanned aerial vehicle program developed by Lockheed Martin. So I need to do some more investigating into that. Oh, I see we got Moops.
I sent you to a few. There's no purple pill here. There isn't a way
so
that
what
I can
Data
put...
was saying is if you go up to the nest there's the space. So that is where
I'm on Android. I can't access it. So I've sent you and Eric a couple of 2 or 3 different messages. I can't do it. I'm useless. I'm on Android.
Oh, I got you. That's perfect like that. Yeah.
That's a bad spot, Moneypenny, to not know if you should put the ice bag on your head or your computer. Like, I feel bad for you today.
I am dripping, and not in a good way.
Hey, can I stir the pot a bit here with a question? So I see that UFO Week's gotten off to a start mainly with yesterday. The spaces were interesting, a lot of sci stuff. And then one later in the day where participants and attendees from Contact in the Desert discussed what took place out there at Contact in the Desert. But that wasn't a story that I had heard from people that I've spoken to that were out there. And I'm just curious to hear your guys' take on, the size spaces and all the stuff that people were saying. I think his name is J2. Just curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Awesome. As someone who was at Contact in the Desert and partook in the, they say it was CE5, but we didn't do any protocols. Maybe they did protocols before they started and other people were just sky watching. I'm unsure, but I showed up to do that. I know there was a number of different claims made. Some people feel as though they saw things in the sky. I've heard reports that people saw more than that. But I can really only speak to my own experience, which was that it was a fun time, but I didn't see anything that would classify as the 5 observables. That's kind of like the framework that I use to determine if something is anomalous. And so I didn't see that personally, but I did hear that other people experience different, right? So if anyone did, I welcome them to share their story, but that's
Ocean,
I can share.
Is there any chance that you can share for everyone what are the 5 observables?
Oh, you're gonna test me now. Let me just
I'm
find
not
them
looking
though.
to test you as much as educate others. It was a question, was all.
Let me
Sorry.
find
Sorry
them
for
and then
putting you on the spot.
I can read them out in detail. But yeah, I know like instantaneous acceleration, changing direction is another one. That's 2 of the 5. But yeah, I can definitely put some information
Yeah,
for
low
everyone.
observability. That's another one. It's like, oh, why does nobody have a good picture of a UAP? Low observability. That's why.
That's interesting when you look at plasma phenomena. So plasma phenomena is self-gravitational. It is self-propulsioned or propelled, I should you say. Oh, God, my brain is addled as well. And because it has a double magnetized external layer, which holds in obviously the ionized gas, the dusty particles, and all the rest of it. I think it would be nice to see those 5 observables and look how many of them the plasma phenomena would also fulfill, because I'm guessing it would be at least 4, maybe 5. I'd like to see
Yeah,
those.
you're talking about like the confinement of plasma. Now, a lot of people jump to magnetic, but there are different ways to confine plasma beyond. Like inertial confinement is another way, right? So there's like magnetic, inertial. There's a few other different ways that you can confine plasma, but that's like plasma is like ionized gas essentially. So if it wasn't confined, then it would dissipate into the environment, and the static field in the environment would absorb that high charge, and we would get back to the balance of 0, which is kind of what we live in, right? Is this kind of equalized state. So it needs to be confined, and then in the confining of it, because it is high energy, it has a force to it, and that's how you get the propulsion, is by confining it. If it wasn't confined, there would be no propulsion, right? So it's just like it's like a bottle when you drop a Mentos into a Coke type of thing. You have to confine the Coke, and then you get the propulsion of the bottle, right? So
But the
that's kind of like
self-gravitational and the confined nature of natural plasma phenomena compared to what you can engineer in a lab or in advanced technology terms, the natural phenomena has naturally confined the plasma with its own natural double magnetic layer that creates the self-gravitational and the propulsion and all the bits and pieces that people try to re-engineer in laboratory states. Now, there have been successful engineering of spherical plasma confined objects in laboratory states, but not ones that are self-propelled or that can contain and hold for more than, I think it's a few minutes. It's a bit like the tokamaks problem of confining plasma within a tokamak with fusion energy, to my knowledge, unless you know different, Ocean.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a tokamak, the spheromak, and the dynamac, and they each differently. Some it's just like one magnetic field layer, and then you get into, I think the dynamac has like 2 layers, and it actually changes. I have a picture, which I'll put it in the nest, that kind of compares the different ones. I don't know where you would find a dynamac or spheromak type setup in nature. Like, I'm not sure how nature would have that happen, but definitely could exist. There's lots of things out there. But we do have a hand. I see Sarah Beth. Welcome, Sarah Beth, to the space.
Hey guys, yeah, no, just a little bit of housekeeping. I know Data is trying to figure something out in the background, but can we maybe just make it work with the nest? I don't want him to accidentally close the space. Last time I did that, where I launched from my phone, and then I don't know. When I did that, I went in and reconnected. It closed the whole space on me. So
Yeah, no, I tried for my connecting on my Android and on my iPhone. It didn't fix the pill, so I don't know.
Okay,
cool. The link to the space is in the Jumbotron.
I don't think you can fix it after starting a space. I think you have to do it from the creation of the space, from personal knowledge.
That's likely the case. Did anybody see this post from Beatrice? She said, here's the quote: "We will conduct a serious review of NASA material in search of UAPs and anomalies. The effort is led by former NASA Associate Administrator for Space Policy and Partnership with Mike Gold, and is being carried out together with the Disclosure Foundation Executive Director Jordan Flowers, theoretical physicist Dr. Manelli, I can't say that, Derek Shunny, aerospace engineer Dr. Travis Taylor, a former Undersecretary of Science and Technology at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Dr. Reggie Brothers, clinical psychologist Dr. Stephen Brill, and herself. Then she linked to an article on nationalreview.com that discusses the Disclosure Foundation's involvement in that. This is in addition to like Avi Loeb's UAP Science Advisory Council. So it really seems like the scientific community is picking up on this.
I really want Gary McKinnon's stuff released under FOIA or something. You remember when Gary McKinnon, the British guy, hacked into NASA and other US government areas, and he got sight briefly of some NASA files, and particularly he saw that everything in terms of imagery, whether it was still imagery or video, there was one folder which was pre-change and another folder which was after we fiddled with it and covered stuff up. I would like to see that folder.
Yeah, well, it's an intriguing story, but it's technically contested and unverified. But it's still a very interesting.
I don't think he would have made it up.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't have any proof one way or another. We have Zane in the house. How's it going,
I'll just say real fast on, I think it kind of sets the stage for as we talk today, but like, for instance, being able to have Beatrice and Mike Gold and everybody verify this, we need to keep thinking about the motto of battle, which is that if things are going too good, you're probably walking into an ambush. You know, we're picking up some steam here. Everybody's clapping. We're all happy. But like, what happens if you get there and there's no data, whether maybe they didn't give it to us, maybe they did, but we don't find anything? We got to have kind of a plan here for getting zeros on some of the stuff versus I feel like everybody's talking like, oh, got him. This is it. This is the answer. We're going to find it. What about if not? Because this is our one big chance. We've got the government interested. We may even have a big budget to do some of the stuff if Burleson's 20 million gets pushed. You know, start thinking plan B, C, and D here versus, you know, this is it.
Yeah, 100%. This is kind of why I'm excited about scientists getting involved in this, right? Not just the government, but actual scientists and field researchers and things like people outside the government. I think that's important. I don't know who had their hand up first. Was it Reverend or was it Zane? Does anybody know? Or Gene, did you have anything to say? I saw your mic open for a second.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add again. I think, you know, it's all great, but it's windows dressing. It's a distraction. They're taking the eye off of the prize, which was disclosure of the records and making the records available and public and handing them to a committee first, or deciding, you know, that they're going to ask questions before they decide if they're going to declassify something. I don't see how any of this moves closer to the goalpost of what was set out as the cause and the mission, other than just creating they're rebranding secrecy. The exact same structure that existed for 80 years is just being rebranded.
Yeah, I mean, again, let's just go back, a month ago, 2 months, 6 months ago. What we wanted was the aerial files that were truly anomalous, that was 2 or 3%, that everybody could see. Now we've got councils, we've got $20 million on a bill to get approved for all these folks, but none of them are going to have TSSCI or access to classified information. And if they did, they're going to sign non-disclosures. Like it's kind of if things are going too good, you're probably walking into an ambush.
Yeah,
it
and
does seem like a long, drawn-out thing.
And these people aren't getting paid for this, right? So they've still got day jobs that they've got to do and take care of. So how's this move the football forward?
For sure. I'd like to add to that if I could. I did synthesize like a group of a timeline of the projects, which we can go over later, but like the private US groups. So 1952, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization by Jim and Coral Lorenzen, right? There's the first early major civilian group. Then there was the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, or NICAP. and that was 1956. And then in 1969, that's when MUFON made an appearance. And then in 1973, Center for UFO Studies was founded by Hynek. And then in 1995, the National Institute of Discovery Science, or NIDS, was funded by Robert Bigelow. So along with the long timeline of repeated quote unquote investigations to get to the bottom and solve the UFO problem, or this phenomenon, it seems to just be a wash and repeat of, we're going to do an investigation, then we're going to make a committee, and then we're going to forget about it for 10 years, and then we're going to rinse and repeat, right? So
Yeah,
I just
that's yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So that's what I don't understand the excitement and the enthusiasm, and the optimism that this is going to be any different in any way. And particularly with the path that we were on, where things were getting released. And again, if they want to if there's a committee to be formed that wants to go through the public release files and provide the assessments of those, fantastic. But it's still none of that is core to what anybody was looking for.
Yeah, and I know Gene doesn't mean to be Debbie Downer here, but Ocean just went over 75 years of history. And to be honest with you, a lot of those people are involved in every single one of those for as long as they were alive. So it is a bit odd, but to get back to Data's point here, Beatrice, I feel like is a fresh breath into this. So at least, I would like to say that for in defense of her. But again, let's just see the stuff, right? Let's get the appropriate whatever needs to be out to where every whistleblower can come out and talk. I mean, like, those are the two big things, right? Release the aerial files, let the whistleblowers talk, and then let's see where the cards fall.
Awesome. I just see elections as the only hand, so forgive me if I'm skipping you. But elections, what's up? How you doing?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, Data, good space. Hey, everybody. You may want to tack onto your list, even though it is government sponsored, was the Condon and the Robertson reports, which are nothing burgers and basically are exactly what it feels like they're doing again. They are just, as Gene said, rolling out the exact same game plan and thinking we're too stupid to notice.
That is included in the, because the ones that I just named were private groups. So when we look at actual projects and whatever, it starts in 1947 was Sign, and then Grudge, and then Blue Book, and then 53 was the Robertson panel, and then the Condon Committee or whatever, that was 1966 to 68. And I didn't even include the past 25 years in that, which we also have. Where is it? We got, so the OSAP ATIP, right? And then we had the UAP Task Force, and then we had the All-Dominion Anomaly Research Office, which we all have heard of, right? And then NASA has started an independent study since 2022. So it is in there. But yeah, that was kind of like the first real government, would you say, led initiative?
Right.
Besides projects, right? I don't know.
Nothing to see here.
Right. And we got to look at the big picture in all of this, right? There's people that we have trusted, right? Or who have taken the spotlight, and you can look to any of these members of the Disclosure Foundation or any of the other ones, and particularly the ones like Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, all the big names who have been in any number of these organizations over the last 40 plus years, right? They're sitting there now and they're telling us, they're trying to tell the public that they're on this path, but we also have to consider the people they're advising are not that well informed on the entirety of the subject and what's happened in the past and all the rest of it. And it, as Ocean said, wash and repeat, rinse and repeat. I mean, and it makes you have to call into question all of these people who are out there screaming about themselves being, advocates and champions and leaders in this issue. And all they seem to be doing is satisfying their own infatuation and need to somehow be inside the government again, and have a committee or a staff position or whatever however they want to describe it. um, and again, the journalists are no better who are covering this, because nobody wants to hold anyone accountable, because God forbid they're challenged, God forbid they're asked a difficult question and pushed back on, for commitments or anything like that. Then everyone's afraid, oh, they'll never want to come on my show again. This isn't how this goes, and it's, we got to get past amateur hour here, some way. We need
Yeah,
real fighters out there doing this, and holding people's feet to the fire.
What do you think of Robin Hanson? He's the guy that came up with the great filter hypothesis. I just posted to the Jumbotron. He's joining the UAP Science Advisory Council.
Sure, he's a wonderful human being. Again, I like Beatrice, personally. Spent a lot of time with her. I reached out and congratulated her today and told her I have zero faith, in Disclosure Foundation. I have no faith that any of this is meant to move the needle. I have confidence in her as an individual. That I believe if she felt as though what she was doing, or that her ability to discover or communicate was being stifled in any way, that she would break with the pack, and she would come forward and exercise some bravery. I doubt any of the other ones would. I just don't see it. Again, based on their backgrounds and based on their records, and just based on the fact that they're actively changing the narrative without addressing the fundamental demands out of all of this.
I did share in the nest, I believe it's from the ATIP, OSAP, TTSA group, the 22 million that was funded. That is something, that is some actual science that we got out of there was the Defense Intelligence Reference Documents. So it's like 37 or 38 documents that kind of go over what the scientists were doing. And so I put those in the nest for anyone that would like to look into them. There's some pretty cool information in there.
Yeah, the papers that they based on the work, partly of which my father-in-law did, that came out of Russia, that nobody wants to have a discussion about now. All the fucking transparency champions, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis and George Knapp, and everybody who was involved in it, and everyone who and the big bullshit. I smuggled documents out of Russia that were already 10 years old in public news. Narrative champions. Nobody has enough balls to answer a simple question of yes or no. Does this look like anything that you've seen before? Those dirds, those documents, the ones where 16 of them match the exact fingerprint, and nobody wants to talk about it. And Burleson avoids me like the plague when I show up, and he looks like he can't get away from me fast enough. Those ones.
Oh, that weasel Burleson.
Yes.
He can't run that fast, surely. He's not really an athlete, is he?
Listen, it's not about, I'm in a fucking wheelchair, Moneypenny. I can't, there's no,
I wouldn't be much use to you either.
there's no running from me.
Gene, if you could post those, if you're allowed to post those documents, I would love to nerd out and compare and highlight the similarities and draw attention to that, because I think it's important. I'm up in Canada. I think that we need to cross reference, and Penny's over in the UK. We need to work together as citizens to have like a united front, in my opinion, right? Because our governments, they all suck all over the world. So,
but to say, hey, Ocean, this is what I've been doing the last year, is putting those exact documents out there. And all of that, I handed you the entire book about it. Everything I've just said is in that book, the point for point comparison. Every document of mine is out there publicly available. Anyone can download it page by page, any number of ways you can get a hold of it and look at it yourself. I mean, it's all right there. I could not make it any easier. On top of doing the work, the problem is nobody wants to answer for it. Who should answer for it? Because what it does is it begins to force the uncomfortable questions, and that's what none of them want to do, is force the uncomfortable question, and that's why we get the masquerade that we're getting now.
Yeah. Everyone that touched this baton basically has liability.
Yeah, I assume they can't say anything. I know Zane has had his hand up for a little while. How's it going, Zane?
What's going on, everyone? Thank you, Dada, for having me up. Sorry for my technical issues there for a minute. But what brought me up before was kind of hearing Moneypenny speak about UAVs, autonomous vehicles. My actual question was going to be for everyone on the panel, if they know any information about brain-computer interface and how far we've come along with that. And then, Dada, to your point, I think you had a question about about Robin Hanson. Honestly, I think Robin Hanson, his communication, his question in general, I think is what science needs more of. And that's just my opinion. Something that thinks outside the box. I think sometimes when it comes to academia, we become a little bit too much put into a box, and it's not okay to think outside. But overall, from what people were, just to stay in tune with the topic of discussion right now, I don't trust anything that's coming out. It's all obviously an operation meant to manipulate and drive a narrative for their own well-being. And I think it's places like this where we can speak openly, communicate in the private industry, if they're not consumed by government contracts, where researchers on the ground level, grassroots, are able to collect this data and provide information, is where we're going to see real results. Thank you all for your time. But again, my main question was about brain-computer interface, and if anyone knows anything about that.
Zane, if you search my profile or just search Google for the DARPA N3 program, and then there's also the Brain Initiative, and the newest one was Brain Initiative 2.0. So these all deal with like how to capture the neural network, and the N3 is about neural interfaces controlling drones remotely with non-invasive methods. So we're not talking about a chip in the head. We're talking about like a helmet that reads the brain waves, which then sends the message to the drone type of thing. The Brain Initiative is a little bit different. I think that's more about like digitizing the information compared to like communications types of things. But yeah, the N3 program and the Brain Initiative. And if anyone else has any information, I would love to hear it as well.
Great information, as always, Ocean. Regarding brain interface stuff, I think what's going on is that there's being a manufactured conversation to get folks to start to think about this topic, but from the angle of there being some sort of nanotech required to be in the person, when that would be actually antiquated at this point. Nanotech is not required. This can be done, as Ocean had kind of mentioned, like with a helmet. So the nanotech tech's not required. That tech being in proximity to accomplish it wirelessly. Don't think for a second that it can't be done at greater distance. That is the current state of the tech when it comes to brain-computer interface. No hardware required in the human side. It can be done remotely at great distance. Terrifying shit.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. It's giving me some material to look into because this is really where most of my, I guess, focus has been kind of leading to is this type of brain-computer interface and just, I think, understanding what it is that's going on here. I can't help but relate it to this controlled disclosure drip and that they're really hiding something so much more in controlling that narrative. Again, that's all speculation on my part. But hey, Ocean, you mentioned
it's crazy tech. That's what they're hiding. Crazy tech.
It's crazy tech, right? And they want to control that, and they're not going to tell you that something else has been perhaps assisting.
Gary Nolan came out and was saying, did someone not say that he's trying to create a thing to like find the gene of like people that are psychic and be able to turn it on and off? Like there is evil doctor work happening here, people. And I want medicine to be for the betterment of humanity, but when you keep things secret, I can't help but to worry, right? And that's with any particular area of life. We deserve to know where we're at scientifically, where what kind of level we've made it to, and nothing good can come of hiding that type of technology. Like, come on now.
I mean, I kind of get why. I mean, we deal with terrorists and all those things. Like, imagine if somebody, like a terrorist organization or like a threat actor, was able to like make like an anti-grav or like a warp capable like missile, right? You know what I mean? Like almost instantaneous, like instantaneous like target like demolition. Like attach a nuke to it. There's no way you can stop that.
I agree. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, as a Canadian, if I had the technology, I would want to share it with my the people that I am, like my friends or whatever, the countries that we're in alliance with, because I feel like having that information and not everyone having it itself could be like a national security, right? It's like an information gap, a knowledge gap, and maybe I'm too trusting. I'm like, we can all share, but in a perfect world, right?
Well, honestly, I think it would be safer for them to just disclose it because, like, all these people are digging around, like, trying to like, compel like companies and the government to release files and stuff. If the government just acknowledged that they had it, that would probably ease a lot of people. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would bring more attention. I'm not sure.
I just kick in. I feel like the American public knows less about this technology than the rest of the world. I know everybody's going to jump in and say, well, Japan has a UAP program and so do these other countries. But I'm just telling you, every adversarial nation and even some of our friends are over here pretty well convinced this is our tech. Searching for it, trying to grab pieces, material, find it in the air. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast of any of our technology. So I would definitely say that the rest of the world definitely feels like this is ours, regardless of what you kind of hear in the echo chamber of UFO Twitter. So, what are they going to do with it if they get it? Again, I think Ocean's just a good person. That's not a fault by any means, but legitly there are people, and they tell you stories about that in the SSCI skiff where they say, in this particular nation, if you get caught and you're an American or American soldier, they, fillet the flesh off the bottom of your feet while you're alive, cut your privates off, put it in your mouth and tow you around by your feet, filming it, knowing that it'll get leaked to the media all while they shoot guns in the air and scream death to the USA. I mean, there's bad fucking people out there. It's unfortunate that they are going to win this over the technology being released for the betterment of man.
That's actually a good point. Like, so like the American people don't know shit. But the Chinese government and the Russian government and probably even some of our allied governments, like, even though we're technically hiding it from them, they have like sensors and satellites and people out in the, you know what I mean?
They're collecting. You nailed it, Data. And if you go back to a Fravor interview, again, people miss these little things. One of the things that Fravor says in one of his interviews is they knew for a fact the Chinese had satellites above them when they were doing their training mission. Why wouldn't you? And that was the training mission that involved the Nimitz and the Tic Tac. So again, we may not have the radar, but I'll tell you, who does? It's China.
Yeah, I know some of these battle groups, like they'll actually turn off some of their systems, so enemies can't pick up. They do sweeps to pick up digital signatures and stuff, EM signatures, RF, things like that.
Well, again, I mean, would it be a bad thing? Like you said, maybe we'll just release it to them. Well, a good way to do that is let them be above with the ability to take photos and really not close enough to gather signals intelligence, and let's let them see one of these Tic Tacs do 80,000 feet down to zero in a split second and then back to the cap point. That's a good way to scare the shit out of someone without relaying your information.
That's actually a really good point.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that was it. That was a good point.
Yeah, I guess my last point on this, I'll just say too, another motivation I feel that information should be disclosed is because the state of the people that are affected by this technology and the way that they're being treated, right? So it's like if keeping this information disclosed means that people that come in contact with it that have experienced injury and been fired from their job, they're not allowed to talk about it. They're living in fear. Maybe they've been hazed, right? Part of a hazing thing. They're not getting any support. They're being pushed under the rug. They're physically, emotionally, all of that. And so I think if that's the cost of keeping things secret, are we willing to pay that, morally and as a society, right? And if we all need to know these top secret things so that those that fight for us to be safe and serve their country can be happy and healthy, then I think that needs to happen, because people are being hurt and dying, being murdered, killed, and stuff like that, and that needs to end, and at whatever cost it takes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with Ocean. I mean, ethically, we know that's the right thing to do. No one can argue that. Unfortunately, and again, I don't, it's not that I'm playing devil's advocate. It's just we're having a hard enough time getting the little bit of stuff we need right now. I think that's definitely a long-term goal we've got to go for, and then hit some more short-term goals of just getting the aero files and things now. But again, I just want to remind people that I've actually spoken to whistleblower lawyers. Mine were set up from John Kiriakou, who was the CIA whistleblower, his same lawyers, and they'll tell you, no matter what, it's just a piece of paper that the government's going to walk through. So it's an unfortunate part of government work and contractor work where we're going to have to get within the system. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. It's just that's such a massive task. I hope it happens. But like for me, they decided that I was deemed a whistleblower because it's in writing in their own writing, but without protection. So none of these bills will ever protect me. For anybody out there that's seen something, which I think is most for our audience, if you go in, you're not protected because you don't work for the government. You don't have a security clearance. So you're going to be like me, where Tim Phillips can come out and say, you were extorting the government, and that based on what you heard, you wouldn't want them around my family. So again, if my last name's ever to come out, my kid's school would say, geez, a guy that was an SCS still on payroll said this guy's not safe to have around one's family. And how's my business going to do work when I just got accused by an SCS, which serves at the leisure of the president, of extorting the U.S. government? So look, I don't have an answer. I'm just telling you, be prepared for what you're going into, and just know ethics and the government doesn't go together.
Ethics and the government does not go together. Ain't that the truth? I mean, I've seen the systems where they're collecting data on every single one of us. It's interesting how it operates at a micro level and then expands into a much greater system. And that goes back to 2008 when I saw it myself. But with that being said, for me, I can't help but disconnect or connect, really. The larger thing at play with artificial intelligence, these data centers and how they've been feeding that machine And that machine has created a monster, I think. And now they've probably gone to a point way too far.
Yeah, I think Zane got it right. I mean, if you even think back to Edward Snowden, it doesn't matter if you think he's a traitor or you think he's a hero. When they had the hearing on the information and they were asking generals basically in uniform, are you spying on U.S. citizens? And they were saying no, they were lying and they knew they were lying. And we know now that they're lying. Nobody lost a pension. Nobody got demoted. The only thing that happened from all that is Edward Snowden's hiding in Russia. I'm not saying he's a hero. I'm just saying you challenge the government comes down on you, and this is the way they work. So I hate to tell whistleblowers all around, even the ones that contact me and think about going public, but know what you're getting into. It's a disaster.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I mean, disclosure isn't happening because it's the right thing to do. They're not a bunch of angels over there like, oh, we need to disclose technology or NHI if that's real. There's something happened that their hands either being forced or they're doing it for a reason other than the goodness of their hearts.
I have a theory with that. My theory is that we need data centers, and data centers cost a lot of electricity. And so now, unfortunately, for the people that do oil and gas, they're bringing out fusion. They're rolling out more efficient fusion, and not as efficient as it could be because we've known about these technologies for a long ass time, but more efficient than we've had. So that's my little conspiracy, is that it's we need to have power data centers, and so we need fusion. And I will say it was a big year because we had ghost murmur, so magnetocardiography, and then the discombobulator, which I think is the word was symphonic. So I think it's like a mixture of electricity and some type of sound, right? That might not be audible sound, but like a sound wave. I think it's a mixture of those two. So those are two new technologies that have came out. And then Trump just announced the whole quantum computer thing, which is funny because quantum computers have been around for a while. But yeah, now we all get to know about that officially, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so on that front, Cisco Systems just announced not too long ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago or so, a prototype for a quantum switch. That now means we can do essentially distributed quantum computing. I think Google or some kind of researcher, I think it might have been Google, found new error correcting codes. So there was a scaling issue. The more qubits you had, the more noise there was. So they found more quantum error correcting codes. So even the smaller amounts of qubits are a lot more efficient now. So we're making huge advancements across the board here. Metamaterials, quantum, artificial intelligence, things are getting crazy. Fusion.
All of that is in Project Genesis, which was published, I think, December 2025. Everything that you said, Hey Ocean, is not conspiracy theory. It is fact. It might be conspiracy fact, but it is fact. And you are absolutely on the button when you say that they are rolling out the fusion energy to the corporate sector, the specialist corporates, the big corporates, rather than the retail sector.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you guys caught, but China's building a huge reverse field configuration. They're calling it the artificial sun. They announced that, I don't know how long ago now, but it's it seems to be a global phenomenon. There's other places that are also investing in this. In Canada, we had quantum encryption satellites come out, I think, last year. It's the idea of safer satellite encryption via quantum. So yeah, everyone's kind of stepping it up a bit. I feel like it's kind of a game of you show yours and I'll show mine type of thing. Maybe nobody wants to go first. See just how little we have to tell the people. But I am happy. I feel to get all of these new technologies talked about this year, I feel like that's more than last year. Go ahead, Zane. I see your hand.
Yeah, I honestly think Moneypenny might have a better eye for this, but as we're discussing this, I can see it on in foreign affairs at a global level, the dynamics separating. You can almost see the puzzle pieces between these three world powers break apart. Starting from Venezuela, kicking them out of our territory, meaning Russia, China, whatever alliance is there. Cuba's next on that. We had other areas in South America, but now you had Greenland, right? And you're just separating this planet. And then you had statements from Trump talking about removing a civilization such as Iran, which we were talking about before, which is a very heavily funded terrorist think of the linkages here, especially when we're talking about UAP technology?
Is he rugging or is that me?
You did cut out there for a moment. If you could repeat just the last 15 seconds. We got most of it though, but yeah.
Sorry about it. Yeah, so I think I left off, and you can see kind of the puzzle pieces breaking apart here, and especially with these three world powers, we're talking about, the same ones that are being disclosed as having UAP information, which is ironic to say the least. But there are backdoor treaties that are being made, and I'm pretty sure that we're dealing with this technology that they learn how to weaponize. And I'm not just talking about, brainwaves, things of that. We're talking about robots, as Moneypenny was describing before, with guns on their heads, operating at speeds that are just going to be light years more advanced than any human can operate at. Autonomous vehicles that can move, as Moneypenny was describing again before, in ways that, again, a pilot just can't do. And it just seems like, again, it's just being set for something much greater. And it almost feels, I hate using this term, but a new world order is coming.
Yeah, it's real sci-fi stuff when you look at it. You mentioned Greenland. Greenland is the tritium fountain, the tritium mountain fountain source of the best, most refined tritium, because in the 1960s and 70s, when the United States did all the military tests with all the radioisotopes and debris that came from them, those solidified in the ice, which is what preserves and refines tritium, which is by far and away the most desperately needed fuel for plasma fusion. And that, I believe, is why they want Greenland.
Isn't that what the alien asked Jason Sands for?
Yes, I've got several videos all about it on my profile, including me having an interview with Jason Sands where I discussed it, because neither Jason nor Joe Rogan realized what it was. And I was straight on the phone afterwards. Joe Rogan follows me, actually, so I was quite happy about that. So I sent them a message and went, I know what tritium is. And you are absolutely spot on.
Isn't tritium like heavy hydrogen?
Yeah, so you've got tritium and deuterium, that are the two things that are used most in what we were talking about earlier, tokamaks. So when you mix tritium and deuterium in the tokamaks or the spheromaks or any of those, this is the most used process. So you can use different types of isotopes. Lithium, obviously, is quite difficult, but you can make lithium from tritium. You have to get those right. It's a tongue twister. But they are very, very precious in this future of fusion energy.
There's also helium too, and there's a process they call it fusion breeding.
Well, helium is created by when you put deuterium and tritium into a tokamak, you create helium. You get an electron that spins off and creates helium.
Yes, and so they create blankets that like capture this or whatever, and then they reabsorb that new gas. So it's like they're breeding, they're creating gas, and then using it. Oh my God, and as like a source of fuel as well. Yeah, and then there's like atmospheric fueled ion propulsion, which is like using the atmosphere, literally just the gases in the air, as a form of fuel. Don't need a fuel tank, baby. It's the world. Yeah, it's super cool. The aneutronic fusion, that's like when they blast it and there's no neutron released, and so it's like it misses the thermal element, so it's like as close to direct energy conversion as we can get. But they're really hard. I think aneutronic fusion is really hard to pull off. As far as I know, there isn't like a huge amount of different devices or engines or systems that are able to like use and create aneutronic fusion in an effective way yet, anyway.
Apart from the one in Ashton Forbes' bedroom. I know. Hey, Ocean watches Ashton Forbes.
I like the Science Time for sure. There's a lot of good information there, regardless of.
Oh, it's brilliant. And it's very entertaining.
The plane thing, just the science behind if the videos were real, how would that happen? And the science checks out. It's possible to make that happen, right? Whether or not it's true, I guess the jury's still out on that.
Oh, if I can, Probed, who was here in the space an hour ago, put up a Rep Luna said in a June 22nd podcast, 20 seconds what it is, that another batch of UAP files is expected, and the briefers have used the word interdimensional. So we're talking technology. We've been seeing videos. What the hell is going to be an interdimensional video? What's anybody's guess on that?
I mean, in my opinion, moving from water to like swimming through water to walking on land is being in two different dimensions in my mind. So like I don't have my hopes up that it means like blasting into a different dimension. I think it's more of just I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean maybe.
Well, I mean, does it help or hurt? Right? Like if you think about if we see something go from land to water, I mean, it's just hard to not think that that's human versus something go from the air to 80,000 feet in space and disappear. I guess that's what my question is like, is it going to be impressive or not? Or is it just going to be confusing?
It's strange. I feel like there's been talk about like demons and angels and like the spiritual aspect being told to the government, right? At one point. And then they also prepared the pastors or whatever. Like there was a group of religious people that spoke and they were being told to like be prepared for like their worlds to be rocked. And it's like we're just gonna give all the narratives to everyone and see which ones fit.
I agree with you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's already an issue, not to start a religious war in here, but with proof with one sector of that call, and then the other sector's not got much proof either. And so it is kind of troublesome. That's not necessarily scientists coming out with at least telling us information. It's just kind of word of mouth narrative. But religion's big within the country, understandable so. But I mean, interdimensional, I guess it's like Luna had also kind of said on one of her things that we'd already saw the meat and potatoes. So like that's my other question is, does interdimensional mean worse videos or does that mean better videos? Because then you talk to someone like Burchett, sounds like there's better videos. So, is this going to get better or worse as these drops come?
I'm hoping they get better. I'm sorry, for some reason the sound on my desktop stopped working and I'm afraid to do the reconnect thing. But, wasn't like, who was it? I think it was Anna Polina Luna. You know how they like kept hyping these video releases up, like, oh yeah, we requested these very specific videos, and like in the skiff, like those videos like were incredible, so we requested them, and then they came out, and they were better quality, right? But like there was no definitive thing there. There was no metadata. There weren't multiple sensors on the same object. Mick West and everybody out here just like basically dismiss them immediately.
I mean, honestly, I did too, just out of the thing that there wasn't anything there where you could argue that it wouldn't be human tech. I mean, that's the tricky thing. Also, keep in mind, we're still dealing with a lot of blobs of light and heat signatures. So, I mean, again, it's just where's the good stuff, right? We don't need Avi Loeb to be on a $20 million funded couple year excursion. How many interviews has he done? I saw him on Fox last night. Like, let's just get this shit out here and let's take a look at it.
Go ahead, Zane.
I just wanted to respond to that question. And this one's a little outside the box. This is just my own perspective. This is why I love these spaces so much, because I get to share thoughts like this and not be called crazy too much. Not too much. But with that being said, see, when I think of interdimensional, I think the way I define it is just another layer of existence that's not really bound to the same laws that we are currently, right? It's just, again, a different layer of existence. And I always come back to this with the technology, but if you have a super intelligence that, even if it was fed and man-made, or put it that way, and this man-made system or this machine can not only look and see what's happening in the past, because that system never forgets, it can also monitor what's currently happening in the present by the information it's currently collecting. if you have that type of capability, you can also have a very strong prediction of the future, which then gives you insight into all three timelines in terms of past, present, and future simultaneously, which could, in and of itself, give it an interdimensional capability because it's observing our reality inside a different layer. Now, is it a conscious system? You know, we can have that debate. I think there's a lot of discussion about AGI and what could happen if it does become self-reliant in singularity, where it no longer needs human systems or human control to help it adapt or continue to upgrade. But that's one thing, and I can't help but think of the Immaculate Constellation. And if I remember correctly, please someone correct me if I'm wrong, that was in and of itself an AI system meant to collect and pull these UAP videos in a mass storage device into its own compartmentalized system.
I will say, like, the having like high energy plasma orbs, they themselves might the time and space within that setup might be different than the time and space that we're in, right? So the whole, like, oh, we opened the door and the room was much bigger on the inside. The idea that the type of science and the type of physics that it takes to create that type of setup actually would manipulate space and time enough so that the environment within the orb or the sphere would exist separately from us and our environment out here. So in some type of way, that could be like an interdimensional or trans whatever setup, right? Like if you're looking at it from that point of view, I guess. I'm not sure what you would achieve with that, but
Jason Giorgiani talks about it in depth in an interview that he did a while back, which again is on my profile. This is the danger of plasma fusion, is it inevitably will disrupt and potentially open up space-time. I'm just about to put out an interview, which I've been trying to download for the last 4 hours using several ice packs, which I'm about to post, which is all about the link between the atomic and nuclear science of the mid-1940s, the Cold War, effectively, and the reasoning and belief I have that a lot of the suppression and a lot of the reasons for the whole UAP and sort of alien deception is down to the suppression of the nuclear and atomic science, combined with a lot of the paperclip scientists that came over. You remember a lot of them came over with propulsion systems that were already effectively managing gravity. But part of that managing gravity equation was also down to some of the plasma science that was used not only in Manhattan, but in some of the future stuff that would be used to produce plasma fusion energy. And the link with what Hayocean has described, in that these self-gravitational, self-propelling, natural plasma phenomena, normally spheres, as we know, but they're morphological, that would have been very dangerous for anybody to admit at the time that the Foo Fighters arrived, which were the first natural plasma phenomena of the type that I'm talking about, in being this complex dusty plasma. Had they allowed that sort of UFO, UAP disclosure to take place, it would have given away a lot of the atomic science that they were working on.
Yeah, you're also referencing the Nuclear Secrets Act of 1954, right? Boring classified. Anything basically related to like nuclear energy or advanced energy would be classified the moment you put the period at the end of the paper, right?
Yeah, that relates to the guy Epstein talks about, PONS, so PONS, Pons, effectively, was working on cold fusion at the time, and all of his stuff was dangerously pulled back. He actually left and went to the south of France to go and do some more of his work over there with his business partner that he was working with. But some of the patents, oh God, who's the guy? Bob Green, Field Greenspan, Bob Green something, Green, yeah. He pulls out the patents from a Japanese scientist, I think it is, that solved the whole plasma fusion puzzle, and his patent was taken off him by the Naval Research Center in the 1970s, and only came out last year. In about March of last year was the first time that it was allowed to come out after, I think it's something like a 20-year, 25-year hold it had to have before it would come back out.
You know, that actually reminds me, like, all these people are like, oh, the government can't keep a secret. If we had super advanced technology, you know, somebody would have came forward or would have got out. Like, when's the last time anybody saw in the news, like, nuclear secrets leaked into the public? Right? Like, I mean, I know, like, foreign nations have
That
stolen.
never going to make the news, Data.
Right. I know foreign nations have stolen some of our stuff, but, like, it doesn't make the news.
You don't need to be leaked now. They're press released. They're actually positively press released. The nuclear energy is no longer a secret. It's now a race behind who can get there and keep it most stable the longest to roll it out to the manufacturing industries.
Oh, no, yeah, that's sponsored by the DOE, right? That's allowed, but there's mathematics and physics that are still classified, right?
No, this is international. And in fact, the US have been behind the times. It's actually Europe. And it's not always the UK that first had the stable tokamak plasma that was, you know, held at a sufficient level. Hey Ocean was talking about the Chinese sun. They called it, the Chinese have built the sun. Same sort of process. But there are many, many international races. It's the $40 trillion race. There's lots of posts about it on my profile. It shows that Bezos and Gates and all these people have put billions and billions behind these various different companies that do it, including, of course, the MIT scientist Nuno Loureiro that was murdered in his own home, who worked for a company, SBARC, Spark, that was behind one of the propositions.
Well, I don't know. I still can't help but feel that's public domain. Like, I mean, there's got to be like certain equations and stuff, certain physics that's still, like, I mean, like, for example, you know, Stuxnet, everybody's seen the three-body problem, right? Where they sent that quantum object, and it like messed with all of our science and prevented us from figuring out how to do things. That's what Stuxnet did for Iran. Is it got into their systems and their modeling for the implosion to create the nuclear reaction. Stuxnet kept messing with the modeling, so they couldn't figure it out. So it's still not public domain. It's still kind of locked into these companies and researchers and people that are behind it. It definitely has more visibility now, but it's still locked behind doors. Well, I just wanted to take a moment to remind everybody this is an open panel. It's not an interview format. Anyone that is knowledgeable on these topics or has any questions or anything to say, like, feel free to hit the request button and come up and speak.
Or maybe we should propose a question and go around the room, and maybe that might inspire some listeners to come up and share their perspective on the question. I would offer the question of, like, what institution or physics has you most interested in the phenomenon? But go ahead, Moneypenny, I see your hand. Moneypenny, I see your hand is up.
God, it's overheated again. Oh, is my microphone open now?
We can
Yep, we hear you all good.
It wasn't opening, I was hitting it everywhere. Yeah, so I've got a question I would love to ask because we've got some great people on the stage and also listening. There have been 3 UAP drops. What percentage of disclosure do you believe has been dropped? And out of the 3 drops, what is the most interesting document, video, or piece of information that has come out?
Oh, that's a great question. Not everybody vote once.
Three drops, you say, huh? Interesting. I haven't heard anything worthwhile make it in my direction yet. What a shocker.
That would be my answer.
Well, I can say this. Your mic's open. Okay. Hey, Snippy.
It's muted. Go ahead.
Okay. I can say this.
Oh, my Lord. I'm just going to mute it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I can say this. A lot of people were calling them Chinese lanterns. That last drop with the the red, spherical orbs. I was seeing stuff just like that during the COVID lockdowns, and they were out there every night for weeks. Right? They looked almost exactly like that. I can't say for sure because it's right. It's compressed video, and they were further away than what I witnessed. But I wonder if that was what I witnessed during the COVID lockdowns. So that was the most intriguing thing for me personally, but for everyone else, it was probably underwhelming.
I don't know. I guess I wouldn't so much say it was underwhelming as it's again, we sit in the community, we hear stories about 5-foot tall lizards and Nordics and all this, and now all the focus is on these balls of light where it's how is that anything? I mean, I put up a while back, it's not there now, but I can put up again where there's a DJI drone that is specifically made for this. You have a massive, basically, spotlight that shows up underneath of it, but it's an internal sort of block, so it doesn't necessarily shine down on you versus it just glows really bright. You can make it change colors. There's a tutorial online of how you can make the lights on the sides of your drones at night, basically disconnect them so you don't, it doesn't look like a drone. I mean, I'm not saying any of that is what it is, nor am I saying it's Chinese lanterns. I'm just saying that's what's always underwhelming for me is, once again, it's a light in the sky. Where is all the stuff for these stories?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't help but connect it to what I saw, right, in close proximity. Again, I'm not saying that's on those videos is what I witnessed, but it had a striking resemblance.
It could be, and I think it's good that you did that because that's how we learn, and people. That's one of the biggest benefits I've seen of these videos. All the stuff that's on there looks a lot like our videos when we run our systems. None of it I would save and say that's great, but yeah, that's how you learn, Dad. I mean, that's a good way to compare stuff.
Real quick, I just wanted to add that if you're like me and when that question was asked, you drew a blank on every single thing from within the documents, I put a post by Tupacabra. If you don't follow that man, follow that man. And he clipped up, it looks like 4 videos from John Greenwald. So John Greenwald would be a good place to go to see some of this content. And it's of 4 of the different videos that were released. So you can have yourself a look and see what you think.
Wait, there were new videos a couple days ago? I didn't even know.
This is from May 2020.
Sorry, last year.
Last
month.
The 22nd of May 2026. Oh my God, I almost said 16. So this is probably the first one. I'm not sure, but it's from one of the drops. Yeah.
Yeah, those weren't particularly exciting either. I think they're higher quality than what we have received before, but where's the metadata? Where's the multiple sensors? Multiple angles, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of metadata that, we don't see that metadata, which is almost more valuable, I would think, because of how limited we actually are able to sense. via camera, right? Like via regular camera, it looks like these are probably thermal cameras because they're in black and white. So, and the lights are glowing. So that would lead me to believe it's probably a thermal camera, but it could not be, right? Like we don't really have the metadata to know the location, how high up the camera, what the camera is mounted to, the I don't know, even the freaking wind that day. Like there's so much other data that could go along with these that I'm not sure if it's been um released or not, right? But yeah, definitely that's a huge piece of the picture that we're missing still. Yeah.
Yeah, you really need multiple sensors with synchronized time, right? So I'd like to see radar, satellites, and this imagery all combined, right? And location and time. Like it's not enough information, unless it's a close-up HD shot, right?
Yeah, and that's it. Where's the craft? But again, as we talk through this, I think people have got to realize that some of the stories within the community are too great to be telling when this is all the drops match is lights in the sky. And then you got to ask yourself, if they're not getting any classified information, what the hell's Avi Loeb going to do with these videos? I mean, how much can you really get from it? Like Ocean was pointing out, is he at least going to get like the wind speed? Or is that classified? I mean, it's just, what is the point of this?
I was trying to I found a document on the archive.com where they talk about WAMI, and I know it's known as wide area motion imagery. What is going on in here? But it's also known as wide area motion interface too. So that's something to turn on.
Interface, huh? I wonder what this kind of tech could be interfacing with.
I think Congress is the most interesting institution right now.
Yeah, that's where most of my focus is obviously on the government, the president, the DOD, or Department of War now, I guess, David Grush. I almost pay almost no attention to any like huge claims or stories now. If it's not directly tied to like legislation or government action, I just tune out.
I don't blame you. I'd also say for people to really focus on a statement, keep politics out of this. You don't have to be a fan of AOC, but she said that she believed that the Senate SSCI particularly got disclosure, and I would agree with that statement. But again, where are they? They're gone. And they're going to be at the Disclosure Foundation tomorrow with Senator Round, so I can tell you, I'll gladly put a knife in your back. I've got the receipts for it. And then Gillibrand, who there's a video you guys can search in the UFO community where she's making fun of David Grush, laughing it up about his statements. Like, so what do they have? Like, not just Arrow. I know I got a TSSCI folder in there. We know everybody went through there to start, right? Where is that information at? Why have they gone quiet?
That always seems to be the case. Like, as soon as they get the information, they're either scared shitless or it's so sensitive that they realize that they're not able to say something like that. That's a guess, right? That's kind of what it appears to me to be. I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, educated guess. I'll just say again, you're talking about SSCI, so Gillibrand, now the leader, Cotton, Rounds. Those people are all on both Senate Armed Service Committee as well as the Intelligence Committee. So they are high enough up where they can make a phone call and get things verified, and they have pros on the staff to get things verified. This is not the UAP caucus asking for records. So again, if they got the right information in there, which I'm telling you they did, they could verify stuff. And then the question definitely is, why did they go quiet? We may not know that, but I mean, it's hard to think it's any other reason.
I'm still waiting probably well over a year now for I think it's the MFR, the Memorandum for Request from Arrow, and they've stopped responding to me. There was exchanges going on for quite some time where they told me they were going to send it my way, and then there became a whole bunch of excuses, and now here it is well over a year, and nothing but silence from their end.
You know what? I've heard, Eric, that story from several people that went, and again, you can probably relate. So I don't put words in your mouth here, but that was something I was told at Aero, at the Aero skiff, which is that after this is done, right, they type it all up, send it all over for your approval and your signature. So my timeline is I was in the Aero skiff giving my first testimony May of 23. So we're at 3 years and I hadn't showed up. So I hate to tell you, brother.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's
I
coming.
know. I'm just clarifying for everybody that's following along with what's really going on behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean, they never even gave me the whole signature and typed up situation at any point, and then went public in their summary report and lied about what I told them. It was bonkers.
Again, and this kind of goes back, we don't want to be like Data's point about why they gone quiet, but my information wasn't included in there because they said it was still ongoing, the investigation. So they smeared you and a couple other people. Mine was unincluded because the investigation is still ongoing 3 years later. I mean, again, how's any of this going to get to the people, and how is a council of a bunch of folks I don't think any of us are real happy about going to get any answers with unclassified information? I'm hoping people are seeing the loop here. Loop to nowhere.
We're gonna have to circle back on that.
Another question that happened in another space is where this advisory committee is getting their funding, if they're getting funding at all. Is anybody aware of that?
So the advisory committee, so I forget the name of it, but there's a government, like it's an governmental group, right? And then the advisory committee advises that group. So the advisory committee isn't funded. It's just a bunch of scientists that can advise the government on things, is my understanding. I'm still kind of looking into this. It's still relatively new, recent, so it takes a while to dig in.
Yeah, I think Data's got it for what we got now. There's going to be some more stuff released, but in a bill that is now going to, I don't think it'll make it into this NDAA. It's supposed to be, but Burleson has asked for $20 million to fund stuff. So we don't know if that means only the interagency, if we're going to pull people out of the interagency and pay them through this. So they're, basically ours in the UFO world versus still working at the FBI and the CIA and the military, if that's going to cover Loeb's. At some point in time, though, I'm just telling you guys, money has to come in for anything to happen. Again, you can only sit around on Zoom so long and chat. So I assume somehow that's going to trickle down. But yeah, as far as Data said, we don't have that information right yet.
Speaking of which, I just want to play a 20-second clip. This is Robin Hanson. He was announced late, but Avi Loeb announced that he's going to be on the Science Advisory Committee. Robin Hanson is the one that coined the whole Great Filter concept. If you're familiar with how scientific institutions and physicists and astrophysicists go about trying to find NHI, this is generally how they do it. They make proper theories. Just 1 second.
Everywhere we've ever looked outside of Earth, it is all completely dead. If you saw aliens out there, you might be scared of them. You might wonder what they do to you, but you should be more scared that you see no aliens. You see absolutely nothing. Because likely something out there is killing everything, and you're next.
Yeah, that was Robin Hanson, the Great Filter Hypothesis. That was a TED Talk. He was being a little dramatic there. It was just a clip. But
it's your narrative. Hold up.
That's an older clip, but the Great Filter Hypothesis, that's kind of the crux of it. And then I think the Dark Force Hypothesis kind of got born off of that. There are solutions to the Fermi Paradox. It's just a little bit of interesting bits of information there. But yes, he is on the Science Advisory Council under Avi Loeb now.
It seems like rather an extreme perspective, although you can find a microcosm of that in nature, maybe, when certain things get too big, naturally there are other things that come and restore the balance, if not Mother Nature and the forces of matter itself, such as having a pole shift or having an ice age. Those types of things happen, which kind of help to level out the playing field or cause evolution, right? But I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry. They're coming for us next. Be afraid.
Yeah, I kind of figure it's just like a sales tactic for the theory and all that. But, I just found that interesting that he's on the advisory council. So I mean, I know Shermer's on there and he's a skeptic, but this guy seems to, Robin Hanson seems to be not necessarily a skeptic. He's trying to figure out why we haven't detected anything, right? He believes it's there, we just don't see it.
I mean, I feel like everyone in this room I feel like even if you're not quite sure of what you're seeing in the sky, we all have this feeling deep down where we know that, like, life on Earth, if life on Earth exists, there must be life on other planets. Might be unreachable for us right now, if that's what you choose to believe. Some people believe they've been here, whatever. We could have even been seeded from life from another planet, right? Maybe they showed up here and planted humanoids. But the idea that, like, the idea that we are the only thing in the universe is far more scary in my mind than the thought that we are not alone. I feel like the fact that we exist is proof that we are not alone. But I'm curious on other perspectives.
Yeah, no, sorry about the segue, everybody. It's such an interesting topic. I don't want to speculate too much, but I mean, yeah, statistically, we're probably not. It's just.
All right, so we got this doomer. Who else is on the panel? Maybe we should go over all the panelists.
Yeah, just if I can jump in real fast on the Hanson thing, it does bother me a little bit just because his sort of, like you're talking about the TED Talk, reminds me a lot of Avi Loeb and the interstellar, alien rock spaceship sent to surveil us sort of nonsense. I guess my biggest thing before we go into who's on the panel is like, as Gallaudet put up there, and I mean, I don't have any problem with Gallaudet, but it's like, oh, I'm glad my, resume or whatever it was, application was accepted by the White House. It's like, where the fuck was that job listing at? Nobody knew about the council. Nobody knew you could apply. Like, that's my problem with everybody we're about ready to mention on this council. That's a backroom smoky deal right there.
Yeah, I mean, did anyone hear about it before it was announced? Like, it did seem like a surprise.
No, it was announced by Avi on like a Sunday. So that's why I thought maybe it's not even real. Cause it's like, this seems like a weird, why didn't it come from the White House? And then you started hearing all the other members chime in like, oh, I'm glad my, was accepted by, and it's like, okay, well, nobody knew about the council. Nobody knew you could apply. How are we going to cheer you on at the UAP Disclosure Foundation tomorrow? Like, that's just bad.
I thought it was fake too. Like a lot of us were looking for the paperwork that was filed for such a thing, and nobody could find any paperwork. Everybody thought it was fake.
Has any paperwork been released? Because that would be interesting to look at, right?
Here's why they didn't have any paperwork. So the UAP Science Advisory Council reports to a higher level interagency UAP governance board. Now, the governance board is government employees, like interagency employees, like coming together. So that's why there was no paperwork, because the advisory council is just advisors. They're not,
Yeah, as far as I know, that it did get confirmed by a couple, like Dean Johnson and some others called ODNI, and ODNI did confirm it's legit.
Hey, Gene.
Sounds to me.
Your mic is open.
It sounds to me like they know that the UAP disclosure bill is going to hit the floor again, and this time it might have a pass. So that's why they're just getting a jump start, because I'm pretty sure that was the advisory committee as well as the governing board were a big part of that UAP disclosure bill.
I think you're right. It could be trying to force the hand. Burleson put something up about that. I think it was this morning, where he was like, oh, I'm sick of asking. I'm going to start demanding. But again, I don't think, it's my personal opinion, right? I don't think the UAPDA is going to pass again. I've started to refer to it as the Buffalo Bill, as in the Buffalo Bills that went to 4 Super Bowls and lost all 4 in a row. Like, this is the 4th year. It seems you're never going to ever pass anything that has eminent domain, just because lobbyists get involved, companies complain to a lot of the people voting on it. So we'll see. But like, again, maybe in the same sort of way of what you're saying, it's like, if they're not going to do it, we'll just go ahead and start our own. So maybe Burleson sees the writing on the wall.
I mean, at one point, were they talking about subpoenas? How do we go from and like Greer in his 2023, he said they got 6 months and we are making legal action and they better get their shit together, essentially. And then there was talk, we're going to subpoena people. How do we go from that to like a Avi Loeb headed like group? Like, I just don't understand. And then also, real quick, we've had Goose up here and Tailspin for some time, but I'm not sure I've heard them chime in yet. If you did, I apologize, but I welcome you to join the conversation.
Oh, snap. Hey, Goose. I didn't see you there. He might be busy, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know, like, again, I'm trying to
What up,
explain.
Data? Yeah, I'm just listening. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead, Goose, jump in.
I think he said he's just
I am.
listening.
Yeah, no, I'm super busy. I will jump in. I'll be done here in about 10 minutes, so I will be right back, guys.
I think we have Gene in here
so-
too. So
Yeah, when you go to SSCI, again, they can go and verify things. They have direct lines to the Pentagon. They have staff members that came over from, the geospatial. I mean, it's a different setup than we got down at the UAP caucus. And the UAP caucus, that's just the way it works. They're talking big. They're throwing their weight around, right? We all clap when Luna said, I'll subpoena Dr. Kirkpatrick. The problem is then she has to go to her lead, right? And her lead of that whole committee oversight has to say yes. And I'm just telling you from what I know, they're shooting all that down. Like, it's a bunch of people puffing their chest out, getting an insane amount of camera time, insane amount of followers. I'm not trying to put like a bad omen on this. Just that's how we went to it, because they can't do that. They don't have the power to do that. They don't have the sway, because they're all mainly freshman members, to do that. But by God, they can put together a council of the local folks that they're all fans of. And I don't know for sure. I don't want to be spreading rumors. It's not for the space, but I have heard within the whistleblower community that there's talk behind the scenes that at least one whistleblower may be joining that council as well. So just a little FYI. I think we're just more stories, more four species, more aliens, more where do you look for the records? But even if they were there, they won't be there. I'm troubled by it.
Hell yeah. I saw you emoting over there, Gene. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just agree. I mean, again, you wonder where it went. This is where it went. This is again, the people who claim that they were fighting for all of this were obviously just trying to create their own circles of influence and their own jobs. And that's all it is. That's all it is. Just, again, it's this idea of how, because remember, none of these groups have publicly committed, even as nonprofits. They don't show their governance structure. They don't have anything about how they're going to ensure there's no conflicts of interest, that the people on these committees can't finish the committee and write a book about what happened behind the scenes or get paid for interviews or do anything like that, right? Because that's what we should be calling for too. Oh, you guess that? Good. No book deals, no nothing comes out of any of this, right? You just settle in and you work. But none of Disclosure Foundation, there's no prohibitions, there's nothing about the conflicts of interests, about taking government jobs, about government employees going to work for the nonprofits, because again, that's a big thing that's done. Folks that are getting close to retirement and whatnot, you get some new legislation in there. All of the folks that are involved in advocating for that legislation or getting it passed, they retire, then they go into the same industry that legislation was meant to regulate, and they become consultants and all of this bullshit. So we know that happens. Let's put conflict of interest policies in place that make sure it doesn't happen in this case, and then we'll see how keen everybody is to sit and volunteer their time and things for a panel. Let's have a conflict of interest policy that prohibits Avi Loeb from getting any government funding for 10 years from the time that this council breaks up. Let's see how fucking interested Avi Loeb is in being the chair of a committee if he's not going to be able to apply for any grants. That's the situation we're in. It's the same thing. It is the pursuit of disclosure, the profitability, and the incentive system that exists for the pursuit that makes anybody more than happy to not reach a conclusion.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he hasn't given up on that $1 billion he's after,
Right. But these are the questions. So, anyone that's there tomorrow, if Ross Cole, anyone that's listening in the background, anyone that listens to this on a recording and has the ability to ask Flowers or Burleson or Avi Loeb or anybody, ask them how they're going to ensure that there's no conflict of interest, and are they willing to put conflict of interest policies in place that prevent anybody from doing any of this monetization of the pursuit of disclosure.
You're 100% right. Sort of like inside trading in Congress. We need to make sure they're not going to benefit monetarily for the work they're doing.
I mean, whatever their exposure is, if these same documents aren't being made available to the public, then does it give them insight into what contractors have this type of technology? And if they know this is going to be coming out and becoming public, are they buying up stock ahead of time in those companies before something's in? A lot of things to be rightly suspicious about. Again, because it's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happened in the almost 20 years I was inside the oil and gas industry doing the exact same things, seeing, legislation formed and negotiated and regulations created and committees and industry groups and who sat in these, who from the industry groups sat on these panels and what that influence meant and what it meant to the government agencies that we were dealing with and the amount of leverage that gave us within the government agencies because nobody wanted to piss us off because in 3 or 4 years they were going to come knocking on our doors looking for a 6-figure job, as their pre-retirement income. It's the exact same system, exact same structure, same architecture going on here. We just need everybody to call it out for what it is.
Gene's not lying. If you want to go to Lockheed, if you want to go any of these companies, see who their leadership is, see who their VP is, it's all people that either came from usually the Senate staff, admiral jobs right over to the lead Lockheed. So you give people contracts, and what always amazes me, they usually jump back and forth quite a bit. So sometimes you're more valuable to Lockheed, not as a CEO, but they're not getting the contract, so they send your butt back over to the Pentagon high up. So it's a shady system. You can research it. It's not any sort of conspiracy. So you nailed that there.
And never mind, what Disclosure Foundation is doing now is lobbying. Not a one of them are a regular lobbyist. And this is shadow lobbying, which is a whole other criminal act that's happening in real time, in everybody's face, that nobody's going to bring up.
Real quick, we got Fletcher and Moneypenny back in the space, but I just wanted to do a quick synopsis for people that don't know what we're talking about, because I wasn't entirely sure the whole purpose of this new group. But yeah, so Avi Loeb heads the new formed UAP Science Advisory Council. So the purpose, first of all, the scientific advisory body established in mid-June 2026, at the request of the White House, Pentagon's All-Domain Resolution Office, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, that's that ODNI, the FBI, and the broader intelligence community. It supports a broader UAP governance board and aligns with directives for greater transparency on unidentified anomalous phenomena. Advise the U.S. government agencies on resolving the nature of UAPs through rigorous multidisciplinary scientific analysis, recommended better data collection methods, evaluate potential national security threats, focus on unclassified data. The council operates under the Chatham House rules. I'm not sure what that means. And no dedicated budget or NDAs for members. So I can put some more of that information in. But why don't you jump in, Fletcher? It's good to have you up here. Sorry about that, but we got you on
it's all
now.
good. Yeah, real quick. I've never really been. That's kind of why I dropped down to listener, because I've never really been that interested or looked into very much this institutional type of disclosure, where like trying to expect or hopefully get stuff from these institutions, just because like I feel like there's a lot more stuff out there that I can get from books and podcasts and spaces, and so I would just, this is coming off the back of yesterday. I had to sit my boss down and have a conversation with him just about general morale and like how the bureaucratic institutions of my little tiny local government get in the way of communication and morale and like understanding about what's going on. And so I just wanted to say that like what I would like to see is just find maybe like I would encourage ways of getting things done that can bypass as many of these like institutional bureaucracies as possible. I don't know what that means or what that looks like, other than just random, books, podcasts, spaces, talking to people, and like kind of, doing what we can on our own with what resources we have. Just because I see these, the bureaucracy as an impediment in many, many different ways. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us agree with you.
Any way we can bypass is good.
I was initially excited about the Galileo project when it was first announced, but then I realized, hey, wait a minute, Harvard and Avi is part of the institution too. Then I kind of lost hope in it a little bit. We need more field researchers and more citizen science, and we need to self-organize and like as citizens, not as institutions or like government.
I agree 100%. Just to jump in on what the Chatham House rules are for people that want to know but aren't going to want to know when I tell you, it's a way to conduct meetings where basically you can say whatever you want, like right in here, but it would be it'd be behind a closed door. And then if anything was to come out about this meeting, we can identify who said it. So, like for instance, if someone says aliens are real, we don't know if Gallaudet said that. We don't know if Avi Loeb said that. We don't know if Shermer said that. So again, the damn shadiness of this thing is going to kill us.
Yeah, and if you want to look that up a little bit, my old boss, who was former MI6 in Shell, made headlines across Europe when something he was talking about in the literal Chatham House was leaked outside of them, and what a scandal it was that it was leaked out of Chatham House. That's how sacred and serious that's taken.
So it's almost like a skiff-like environment.
No, it's very beautiful. I mean, it's like a old English club type environment, but the secrecy around it is that's what's said in that room, stays in that room without attribution to who it was that said it. And so, like I said, it must.
How did it leak out of Chatham House? Because Chatham House rules is more of a theme that is used to indict the rules on any meeting anywhere in the world. It's not actually, put on a bit of paper and kept in Chatham House.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but that's where they originated. That's why that's why it's called what it's called.
And I think you're going to see.
It's called that, yeah, because this old English place full of masons and little old men that probably do things they shouldn't do decided to come up with a secret Masonic rule that you weren't allowed to talk about certain things, and that became known as the Chatham House Rules. And that is just a format that is used verbally at meetings all across the world. So to have something leaked from Chatham House, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, I don't know. It makes sense to me. I guess we're seeing it in different ways.
Chatham
I
House
think
is a real place. It's the The Royal Institute of
Oh, I
International
know. I've been
Affairs.
there. Yeah,
I think we're going to see it with
I've
this
been there.
council.
Yes,
Though.
but what I'm saying is, if you had a meeting in the United States, you don't have the whole volume of those meeting notes printed out and put into Chatham House. So presumably what you're referring to is somebody that was aware that it was Chatham House rules in the meeting decided to leak some information.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen with this council.
Yes.
Someone's going to get eager to get on TV and say it.
Yeah, I thought it was odd if these group of American UFO people had actually met physically in Chatham House, because that is
No,
quite
nobody was saying
unusual.
that.
No.
No, it's figure speech.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Apologies. I thought you said they were leaking from
Oh, no.
Chatham
So
House, which is really odd because it's a little old, as you know, it is a beautiful little old Regency place full of boring old men.
I was telling a story of when it really happened back 2004-ish, I think it was. The head of global security, former MI6 Ian McCready, was quoted afterwards, and he was actually at Chatham House speaking.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to straighten that out for everybody, there is a location actually that this particular house, and these are the rules that came up within it, which is not here in America, but as we speak English here, for some reason we also still like to throw little quotes in there about our rules. So within this new committee on paper, that's how they've described it. And I assume politicians know what that meant. But back to the statement, which is that no one's supposed to say who said what or talk about it, even though it's not a skiff. It's kind of like a skiff in the idea that you're supposed to not talk about what gets said in there. Like Gene said, they're probably going to be smoking cigars and eating lobster on that $20 million budget. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all that clarity and that information. It's good to know. It's interesting that they do provide a space for people to speak on that type of stuff. And I definitely see the risks of that leaking out for sure. But Zane, you had your hand up. Did you still have a thought or was that retracted?
If not, Metapoop just came up. Since she's new, we could give her a moment to speak or ask a question.
Aloha Data, so good to be here. And of course, hey Ocean Girls Systems, so good to see you. Moneypenny, Jean or Jean, Fletcher, Goose, Wiz, Jean, you've got two Jeans, Jean, but differently spelled. Snippy, Zane and Jenny, and I see oh my god, 3W and Sarah is here as well, and Perplec. Well, thank you for having me. What questions do you have? I'm all ears.
I love it, Meta. We're just here discussing UAPs and institutions and physics that we frame around the topic. So it's UFO Twitter week, if you didn't know, and so we're going to be hosting spaces all week about the topic and kind of exploring different avenues about it. And this one we've just kind of gone over. The different groups that have popped up. We've gone over some projects and stuff as well related to the topic. So that's kind of like what the point is here today.
Yeah, we opened with Eric Burleson talking about the FFRDCs, such as MITRE and releasing any documentation that they might have. Then we moved into other topics, such as the Science Advisory Board. We talked about the quantum advances that the White House was talking about, like quantum supremacy, all kinds of stuff like that.
Okay, so we can be, when it's quantum, everything is quantum. So there's literally nothing what you mentioned which is not quantum. There's actually one thing what I love about institutions and physics or psychics. I don't know if it's true, but I read that there are certain countries, especially in Asia, which actually teach kids to be more intuitive, like blindfold their eyes and just guess the color or guess the shape or something like that, and be more in tune what other institutions try to actually make us forget that we have the abilities to actually nurture it. And I find it pretty cool that there are already institutions which realize, hey, we need people to be more tapped in with their intuition rather than jarheads and zombies, which are just customers and can be, harvested with the data. So I just wanted to mention that guys, it's not as grim as we think. There are actually movements happening to, step into the remembrance and to foster our abilities. Thanks.
Yeah, you saying that reminds me of the telepathy tapes. I actually didn't watch the telepathy tapes. The idea of trying to gain psychic power or tap into the psychic power that we all have type of thing. I don't know about the kids thing, dude. Kids freak me out. Let kids be kids. We don't need little psychic super soldier children, right? But I'm a mother, so maybe I'm biased why I say that, but
Gotcha. Well, hey, if it's all right, I was going to just kind of bring up one thing on that, the particular group, council, board, whatever it is. One of the reasons I think that they have it up among many is that, individuals that are elected members, and it's not a shot at them, but they're just not, as anybody wouldn't be, familiar with these topics, with these sciences. And so what you've already kind of seen, like, for instance, from Burleson, when he talks about the spare he went and seen, is he was talking about the carbon dating on it, when everybody in the community already knew that they had dated the resin on it, right? So that's not a reliable thing. But he just, they like to repeat, which is why they have staff members on every committee, what they're told, and that's how the system is designed. So you're getting into a gray area here. And when I was going into the SSCI SCIF, I got stopped before I went in, and one of the guys that was leading it on the staff, the senators that went in before us, said, "Hey man, dumb it down." And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I've got my briefing papers ready. I've been preparing for this for weeks. He was like, just dumb it down. I was like, well, how dumb, right? I mean, that's the question. And he said, go in there and brief the senators like you're going to brief your grandparents. And I was like, okay, well, like, what age is the grandparents? Because my dad's a grandparent, right? Like, I mean, and he understands this stuff. I said, like, my grandparents were born, early 1920s. And they looked at me and said, you go in there and brief them like you would your grandparents that were born in the early 1920s. Now, these are the people on the Intelligence Committee of the Senate. So it transpawns right into the UAP caucus, which is that they can't deal with us directly. They want to go on the shows and talk about it. But
I can't hear
this
anything.
group of people this council, this board they put together, is really who's going to be the people dealing with us and giving us the information. So, like, people need to be aware of that. Like, this is how it's going to get dished out to us. Go ahead, Money.
Money Penny, my quantum sister, plasma sister.
Real quick, that brings up another thought, So in the past, when I've had a chance to talk to people who have been in these institutions for a long time, and like a good friend of mine that I just happened to meet because he lives next door, he retired from Huntsville, and I was just, we were just friends, right? And I threw all kinds of crazy shit at him just in conversation over a game of darts, and just because, like, whatever, he's just a friend. And the response that I got was interesting, and I find that if you have an opportunity to talk to these people who are in the know, why not throw all of the craziest ideas at them? Be like, why is this not a possibility? And you can often get interesting answers as a result, whether they intend to or not. It's almost like an error correction coming from the system, being like, well, and not only that, but it gets them thinking about other possibilities. Like, wait, maybe I don't know everything, even though I know a whole lot of stuff. So that's another tactic to use if you find yourself talking to somebody who has been in these systems deeply. It's interesting to just throw all kinds of stuff at them that you think might be possible and see what comes back.
for sure. Go ahead. How do I say your name? Is it Jean? John? I feel like it's French.
Yeah, Jean.
Jean, of course. Go ahead,
So,
buddy.
yeah, I just want to be real quick, but it's just sort of a feeling I have that the discussion about government disclosures is taking up so much. It's a bit like what Fletcher was saying. It takes up so much air in the room that sometimes I think we could think about all the other possibilities, like that the little people can do, right? And first of all, I just like to quickly thank and mention some of the people here and the great work that they've done, like Moneypenny, all this research on what she calls plasmates, which I believe is a word that comes from Philip K. Dick. I don't know the details of like which book or whatever, but it's very interesting. But I think research on these, whatever you want to call them, plasmoids, plasmates, orbs, whatever, whether you're like an experiencer who sees them, or you're just researching the history, or you're into the science, or just following the science. I think these are important because they open the door. Like, they're an easily studied phenomenon, relatively speaking, I would say, considering there are people that are just seem to be ready to go to really study these things intensely, and that they have already, in fact, like the Tedesco brothers and some other serious researchers with serious research platforms, right? If these things can be substantiated with scientific research, right, their existence and their characteristics, to me, that then all the other phenomena start to get taken more seriously, right? Because I think there's an acceptance problem. There's this stigma problem, let's say, in academia, right? Academia doesn't touch these things with a 10-foot pole, and they should, because it's a fascinating phenomenon. Like, if you think about it, these orbs that like stay together for long periods of time, that defies what a lot of the so-called rules of physics are telling us, right? So there are people trying to figure out how that works, and there could be all kinds of applications. But the point is, the stigma associated with these things is shutting down potential research in academia. So maybe, like, we could have here on UFOX, like, we could have a little group, or we could have spaces every once in a while where we just focus on that, right? Like, focus on orbs and plasma. And okay, so I've said that, but I also like to continue thanking people for the great work. Like, Ocean, all your posts on physics are fantastic, super interesting. Thank you very much. And all the other people who do, like, I can't even begin to thank all this great stuff that people, all the videos that people have posted of what they see, and just all the great research that people have done. Like, let's give ourselves a hand. And just one last thing, like, that Nightcrawler vehicle that the Tedesco brothers have put together in Long Island. I mean, that thing could go across the country. You could have like a show about it, right? You could have a series about it. All they need is a little more funding, and maybe like a show like that could raise the funding, right? And they could travel around and do a scientific study, like not associated with the government in any way, right? Just pure citizen science, and then we wouldn't have to, hopefully, worry about government secrecy. So there you go. That's my 2 cents.
100% agree with you. I mean, that's kind of my two focuses, is the government and then like citizen scientists. I am a little behind on the citizen scientists, but I did look into those brothers you were just talking about. On one of their expeditions, like they found a cloud that wasn't actually made of water vapor, right? And they started doing some tests, and I guess they found an object inside of it. There were some other tests. I think this is like a multi-million-dollar RV that they have, right? Like, it's a lot of sensors in there, a lot of high-tech equipment, radar, all kinds of stuff like that. Like, nobody seems to talk about these. Nobody talks about UAPX. Nobody talks about those brothers. Nobody. There's one I just found, Project Hestelin in Norway. I haven't looked into that much, but I've been, as of a couple days ago, I've been trying to query and pull up some of these groups that are out there. And, instead of talking about like grays and mantids, I think we should start talking more about the field research that's going on, like, because nobody's bringing attention to it. It's all sensational headlines.
Go ahead, John. Jump in.
Could I just quickly plug Dr. Tim Mounds' All Things Unexplained podcast, because he has interviewed the Tedesco brothers, but he's also interviewed Dr. Massimo Teodorani, who's a European. He's an Italian researcher that's extensively studied the Hessdalen lights, and he's an astrophysicist, PhD astrophysicist. So yeah, the All Things Unexplained podcast has some content on this, and I can.
I think it was a couple months ago they put something out. I think there were a couple videos.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, Tim, he's like one of us, right? He's kind of a low key guy, but he puts out a lot of really great content. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. If I'm gonna look that up and try to put it in the space. If you have it, feel free to drop that link to the podcast in the space comments too. Thank you. I 100% agree with you, man.
I gotta say, I'm looking through the list of people here: Ursula, Jess, Interstellar, Sarah, Jess. This is the quietest I've ever heard of you guys. You gotta get on speaker. Jump on.
Yeah, I know you guys and ladies have some things to say. Feel free.
Yes, everyone is welcome. I had some people blocked. I unblocked them for the space. If you want to get in here, I want to create a space for everyone. No drama. Save the drama for your baby mamas. I did put some information up in the nest about remote viewing, but then also the Gateway Project and the Monroe Institute, if you guys would like to dive into that. We haven't really talked about those guys yet. And then I see, Meta, you got your hand up, girl. Go ahead.
Perfect timing. My mouth is full. Let me swallow. All right. Yeah, the Monroe Institute, actually my husband is very much into it, which is remote viewing and also astral projection. And it's a very good concept. Please check it out. They're actually for free now online. You can YouTube it. Use Brave. It's actually, make sure that you don't get any advertisement shit when you're like listening to this binaural sound to actually help you to shift your consciousness. So if you use Brave as your browser, it automatically removes all the ads, so you can enjoy YouTube for free without ads. So you don't get like when you're in the middle of the journey, like, and here, buy this and get one free, so whatever shit, you know, while you are in the deep trance. Yeah, be brave. Don't Google, don't Safari, don't Firefox. Be brave. Use Brave as your server. That's a shameless plug. I'm not getting paid by Brave, but it's a great server. What I wanted to say, yeah, the Monroe technique, definitely good to tap into in our natural abilities to actually astral project and remote view, and to be in different dimensions and travel. And find as well your safe spot so you can recharge, to rest and digest when, you know, everything around seems to be like an organized entropy blizzard. And what I wanted to say about plasma, thank you, Jean-Philippe. As we have Moneypenny here, Moneypenny and I, we are absolute into plasma. And when we talk about the physics and the power and how things are very strange. Water is a very, very strange element, and plasma is actually the fourth state of water. And when you look how the researchers get eliminated and silenced, which actually push it, you do start to wonder why, because plasma is free energy. I don't know if Tesla was into it. Some say yes, some say no, but Nikola Tesla definitely was tapping into something, and I think he used quartz to stabilize, to be able to tap into the plasma field and get quote-unquote free energy from it. So of course it's being suppressed because you can't make money with it, and you can't suppress people when they know how to get into free energy. So definitely look into the plasma research, and not just what Google spits out. Go deeper, and maybe you are very lucky. We have some people here, experts in that field, because I know that 2 of my friends got eliminated for their research, and some other friends, they're hiding really well and hoping that they're just low-key and, you know, because they're family.
That reminds me, plasma confinement's pretty important for fusion. What's really interesting is, didn't Trump's family end up with the Tesla files, supposedly? And
Apparently his uncle had it or something like that. I heard that, yes.
And then Trump Media merged with that plasma, or not plasma, but the fusion.
Tri-Alpha Energy?
Yeah, the fusion company.
They merged.
Yeah, that's very interesting coincidence, right? Right as that plasma scientist died, or that fusion scientist.
Yeah, I think that when people say free energy, there's negative connotations with it. The idea is like it's over unity. The way it was described to me is like, you imagine pushing on a swing and the swing comes up and you wait for the swing to come all the way back up before you push it again, right? And then the swing goes further and then you do that again, you push it again. And the idea is, it's as good of an analogy as I can get, guys. And the idea is that each turn, like each revolution, each turn, you get a little bit more energy than you put into it. So it's like over unity, which is in turn pretty much free energy. If you're getting more out than you're putting in, then you're receiving some quote unquote free, right? There's also like atmospheric energy harvesting. So like harvesting pretty much an electron at a time with different types of like converters and chips, microchips and stuff. And so that would be like, yeah, atmospheric harvesting. Again, it is quote unquote free energy, but it's like it's already present in the environment. So it's not like,
it's not a perpetual motion
people,
machine.
I feel like people don't really understand free. It is free, but it's not like you can just go to the store and buy it and pay $0 type of thing. There still is an effort to get that energy out of the medium, right?
Yeah, I think these fusion reactors, I forget which lab it was, but they got more energy out of it than they put into it. So that, they have to use generators or the power grid to start up the process, right? But then like the actual fusion process starts generating its own energy output. We've been making a headway on that. I know Jenny just came up. How's it going, Jenny?
Yes, welcome, Jenny. Thank you for popping up.
What's up, dude? I was going to ask you, how are they doing I read something a while back about the moon and how they were planning on going to the moon and somehow, I'm not sure if mining but wirelessly transmitting energy from the moon to Earth. What is that? Have you heard that?
I know China's doing some of this too. So like solar arrays in space that beam the energy down wirelessly into like a base station on the ground, then distribute.
So what's the difference between that and wireless energy?
Nothing. It is the same thing.
Yeah.
So then how come we don't have wireless energy all over Earth?
We definitely could.
Well, I think back in the day, like there was some fighting over like wireless transmission of data and wireless transmission of power, and I think there was some overlap back in the day. So that's why we have Wi-Fi and not like Wi-Power.
Okay, so and then now what we're doing is we're beginning to understand wireless transmission of consciousness. I think that like the next thing that we're going to digitize, not necessarily digitize, but understand the medium at which it lives. When you talk about plasma meta, I don't understand it very well. I've noticed I didn't get into it because I figured you guys would teach me what I needed to know. And honestly, but so thank you for all you do. But I wanted to know, the ether is something that was taken away from us a long, long time ago. It was, one of the fundamental products that they use in alchemy, not products, but concepts. I'm not that great with words. So then when it left, we sort of felt that there was just empty space all over the place, which we've discovered now isn't. And I'm wondering is, we can't see it. And it's obvious there's a whole lot of this whole reality thing that we can't physically see or see with our eyes. And plasma seems to me maybe something that is interacting with what we cannot see. So plasma itself, I'm not sure. Please let me know if this might be it, is that the way that we witness it or the way that we see it or can experience it sometimes has to do with some other type of and I don't want to use the word force, but I kind of feel like or interaction with or, influence from the ether or some type of way of moving or being that is in the unseen, beyond the veil, and the other side. Does that make sense?
Is the question coming to me, Jenny?
If you feel like you want to go for it, I would love it. Anybody. You.
Okay, Jenny. First of all, I love
your accent. I just want to say, you sound so fucking hot. I just want, when you talk, I just love it.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. And I also enjoy your frequency coming through your beautiful throat. And, it's amazing. We think we don't touch each other, but actually the sound coming from the speaker out, we are actually physically also connected simply through the sounds coming through our phones. So, Jenny, so plasma and ether, I don't know exactly what's the difference, but you are definitely onto something. You can see plasma when you put 2 grapes into a microwave, if you have a microwave. I mean, we don't, but I'm sure that somebody in your environment, if you're in America, with a microwave, put 2 grapes into a microwave and see how they're discharged, and that's how you see plasma actually. So it is everywhere. There is no negative space, there is no empty space. As you say, everything is filled. Our senses, as you rightfully say, they are limited to perceive certain things, and we've been conditioned only what you see is real. But funny enough, we use Wi-Fi. We are speaking through our smart devices right now, and I don't know about you guys, but there's no cables attached, and for some reason, your signal comes through clearly, and I can't, I touch the air, and I don't know from where you come, but here we are, not with Fox News or something else coming through, and we can have this clear conversation happening here. And with the ether, the 5th element, or the 4th state of water, which is plasma, you can also see, I don't know if you had these like glass balls, they were very popular in the 80s and 90s. They had like this purple, white thunder or lightning strikes, and you put your finger on it. They were just touching with your finger there, and you could like move your hands around these gold, glass balls, and then it just goes zzz. So that's plasma too. So visible plasma, but it's everywhere. Yeah, thanks. Hey, Ocean. I'm doing my best to describe it, I'm Generation X, so some people don't even know, what I'm talking about. So I'm doing my best to describe it.
You're doing a great job. Can we use it to sort of seek out what we can't see?
Well, yes, yeah, exactly. So these are ways how you can make plasma visible. These grapes in the microwave, 2 grapes, with a bit of a distance. So you see like these things exchange, the plasma become visible. But also, I think what we call the dark matter or the void or whatever we name it, it is the way how energy can be, as Ocean said beautifully, right? It's not for free, but you put less energy in to get more energy out, which quote unquote could be called for free. So we have the field within us and around us. Plasma is not just around us. And I highly recommend, Jenny, a book written by Ed Young, An Immense World. And that opens your mind and heart and soul to actually understand that being limited in your perception and in your senses is actually a good thing, because I don't know how you would compute if you would be able to see all the colors, to smell all the things, to receive all the sounds which are in existence. So limitations is not something against us. It keeps us curious, and we know that there's more than we can fathom, and that's good news. I don't know about you guys, but I don't wish to be able to tap in everything there is and be able to be in that state all the time. I love the limitations, and I love to know that there's much more than I can ever comprehend, and that keeps me curious and keeps me present and keeps me open. So, Jenny, that's what I can say, but I see that I Wonder has his hand up, or her hand up.
Oh, hey, I Wonder. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, thanks, Dada. Guys, Jenny, one of the things I get a sense from you that you're really trying to dig into the plasma thing, because it is, in the scientific world, it's something that is extremely different from like the raw materials of physical reality. And the study of it is really, really deep. And you get into the plasma shapes or the plasmoid shapes and stuff like that. If you really want to go down that hole, I could advise you to dig into Thunderbolts of the Gods. That deals pretty much with a lot of the plasma stuff, but plasma still is really, on a scientific basis, is not totally understood, because it is something, lightning bolts are plasma, and they're 5-10 times hotter than the surface of the sun. So I think there's still an awful lot of scientific study to be done. One thing I have a question, and maybe Jean could weigh in on. I mainly come from, though I do have a UAP, UFO experience, I come mainly from the near-death experience community and speaker. 15 years ago, the term orb, and I've noticed a change, or kind of an inkling to incorporate UAPs as orbs. Now, the term orb in the NDE world, industry, whatever, was typically used for the soul type things, translucent. And meta, I think I've heard you say once before, like the translucentness. I have a couple of really good pictures of orbs that I've taken personally. That was after my near-death experience while I was writing my book, and really before I got on a lot of stages and stuff and was speaking. But so before, the term orb was used for more of disincarnate souls, and now I noticed that the term orb is being used for UAPs and stuff.
There's a
Oh, I see you're an author. What's the name of your book?
hello. There's also the term ball lightning as well. I'm not sure who's next with the hands. We haven't heard from 3W yet, but I think was that question directly to Jean? If you want to answer that for us, and then we can pop over to 3W for sure. What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just to save Missile Man a post here. There is, in fact, a pretty precise definition of what plasma is from a physics point of view. All it is just gas that's heated to the point where, like, the electrons become free. So the gas, the body of gas becomes either entirely or partially stripped of its electrons. It has certain properties, electrically conductive, and so really that's the very simple definition of what it is from a physics point of view. So you find it in the sun, you find it in lightning, you find it. They use in industry plasma torches, to cut things. It's simply just very hot gas. Is really all it is. Now it can be organized into many different forms and so on, and used for different purposes, and it could be shaped and whatever, perhaps controlled. But the point is, at its core, it's just hot gas. That's really all it is.
Can I expand on it, pun intended, with the gas thing? But I go after 3W. 3W, I expand afterwards.
Okay. Hey guys. So we're talking about energy transfer and space. I think it was a couple kilometers that we would need more than what we've been able to demonstrate as far as that goes. And being able to transfer energy from space into one predictable location at a period of time chosen is, let's say, different than just sort of like, the free energy Tesla style, going from streetlights to rooftops where it's just a continuous beam of, electric energy for when you're using it could be more disruptive to your environment, the local flora and fauna, than I think that we might be giving it credit for. And then when it comes to the plasma situation with the grapes, fantastic experiment. Love that one. I don't know the exact science behind it. I know it has something to do with the exact size and shape of the grapes, and microwave specifically, and resonance of the cavity provided by the grapes. But it seems like such a drastic energy output compared to input that I'm surprised we don't just throw like a handful of grapes in some like liquid somewhere and take the steam off of that sometime and see what's going on, see if maybe that's a good way to do some cool energy stuff. It's just putting a weird thought out there. And then with the orb behaviors, I feel like I actually put something about this yesterday. It's like I think there's enough consistent and differing and a differential in orb behavior patterns that we can validate having a greater classification schema of them. Like we know that there are more like solid ones. We have ones that are sort of like pulsing. We have ones that are more like cloud-like. We have sort of like composite splitting ones. We have ones that are, and as far as like just the morphological ones, and then we have behavioral patterns of those ones where they're sort of like slowly going where they are. The ones where they're kind of like not exactly perfectly going where they're going from A to B. They're kind of meandering a little bit. You have the ones that are just kind of like wandering around. You have ones that are responsive or almost predatory to like flying objects or missiles. We've seen those videos where they shot them nuke down midair or whatever. And we have different size scales. You know, we have ones they don't usually get beyond like several meters. I wonder, you know, maybe some like pea-sized ones could lead to some fairy stuff or something like that, or just smaller ones or that kind of thing. I feel like we have enough of these orb videos that we can kind of start putting something together with that. I hope we should do that.
May I continue the weave systems and data? Okay. First of all, I wonder, it's a pleasure meeting you. I definitely follow you because I want to nerd more out with you. So I am anticipating our nerdiness to take us beyond our comprehension. And 3W as well, and Jean, the plasma, I don't know if it's plasma, but I even think that plasma, when we have thoughts and you see this lightning in your brain, when you synapses fire, maybe that's also a form of plasma, not that it's like super hot gas, but it looks like a lightning as well. And also when we are conceived, there are videos showing when the sperm goes into the egg and they are merging, there is like this release. And it looks like a lightning too. It might be as well plasma release, something very beautiful. And also spirally. So when you look how the egg behaves when the sperm is accepted by the egg. By the way, sperm seems to have a sense of smell to find the pheromones of the egg, so it knows which direction to go. And it's not the fastest and the strongest which goes into the egg, but definitely the one which makes it. And then the egg decides, hey fellow, okay, I'm taking you in. And it's pretty fascinating to think about it. So yeah, you have to make it to the egg, so you have to somehow be there, show up and be present, but still doesn't mean that you are the first one, the strongest one. The egg says, okay, buddy, you come in. And the moment when the egg decides to take, this is why I'm like a bit skeptical about in vitro, that the needle just stuffs in the sperm, like, here we go, you take this one and you make it happen. I'm like, I wonder, I really want more studies regarding people who are in vitro and people who are like naturally born, if there's a difference because of the way how the inception just worked. But anyhow, that's my nerdy brain going in a certain direction. So when you look at the egg, when the sperm is being accepted and received and chosen, it has spiral shapes. It has these amazing spirally shapes and also this lightning release. And it's pretty, breathtaking. Hail to science. I think Hey Ocean and then Jenny. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not a co-host here, but his hands up.
It's all good. We can all play co-host here. I just wanted to share what Sean had said is, like all plasma is essentially is ionized gases, right? So it's like gases that have so much energy in them that then they begin to transmute, that, like he said, the electrons get split and they turn into different elements. I put a couple different examples of the implementations with plasma. So I got here like electron beams, so like the laser plasma accelerators. There's cool pictures there. And then another one is like the new plasma actuators is another application. And then of course I love my atmospheric fueled ion engine. So these are all like just different examples of how we can like create or like use plasma like functionally, I guess. And electricity itself is just simply like a separation of charge, right? Like you have positive over here, you have negative over here. You're going to have energy flow from the positive to the negative until we find an equilibrium. And so the quote unquote ether would be like the area around us having that equilibrium. So all around you, there's positive and negatives bumping into each other. You take something like a cord or whatever, and you run a electricity through it. You're creating positive on one end and negative on the other, right? So that's like, the whole idea that we are surrounded in this field of equilibrium energy and the ability to tap into that to steal a little bit or whatever. The ether's back, baby. But go ahead, Meta.
It's Jenny. I'm after Jenny.
Oh, I don't see Jenny's hand. Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, so what you just the thing you just said, Meta, when at the very end you said something about thoughts. The reason that I'm interested in it is because of I just happen to be up Claude Shannon's butt, who he kind of helped create digital. He helped us understand how to measure information so that we were able to transfer it in channels and like transmit emails, text messages, all this stuff, right? And before that, it was there, the ability was there, we just didn't know how to do it. And I think that what we're hinting for now is the ability to do that with sort of maybe even in the conscious realm. So that's one of the reasons, why I'd asked. And then when you said that about thoughts, and somebody else has said something the other day too, that thoughts have a weight or maybe some sort of an energy. Whoa, damn, that was lightning. Sorry, that was really loud. Woo. So when the analysis of the Gateway Project that Ocean had mentioned earlier talked about the mind and sort of the field that it produces, and we know that in the center of our brain we have different light photoreceptors in a way, like the rods and cones in our eyeballs, and that's in our pineal gland, which is the only other place in the body where we can find those things. So could be relative to dreaming, etc. Either way. Now we also talked about recently people seeing different fields around people and other ways. The mind could potentially, and what this paper said, the analysis of the Gateway Project, is that it projects, would be in some way energy. It would have to, be something, because it's going from point A to B outside of the head, which interacting and interactions with this plasma. My question is, I feel like that when it comes to speaking to people beyond the veil, when it comes to not seeing what is around us that we can't see, when it comes to the abilities that human beings have, and the fact that we're simply sort of a projection of this, mass with knock on wood, solidity, we're solid, we are a reflection of something. Fuck, this is really hard to explain because I'm just walking in the door, but he was able to look at information, parse it out, and then begin to send emails, send text messages, and make the world the way that it is today. We know we're projecting to something where we are transferring consciousness into other things. Is this sort of the route of parsing out the unseen so that we can begin to manipulate it and use it more effectively? I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I do apologize for skipping through that thought.
No, it's all good. I did want to remind everybody, it's almost 4:00. I know Astral is doing a space in about an hour. I think he's doing it with Ron James. He's the media relations director for MUFON. So that's coming up soon. Just wanted to put that out there real quick.
Hell yeah, this has been a great space so far. I've loved it. I love all the information I've been able to share and glean from being here. Go ahead, Meta.
All right. First of all, please follow Data, Hey Ocean, and Systems. Thank you for doing this and putting it all together so we can nerd out together. So I appreciate you guys. Share the space if you haven't already. And I just wanted to as well, Jenny, as you said, mind over matter. I think the mind is not just our brain. We've been conditioned that the thoughts are just being fostered in our brain, which is maybe cute, but there's much more going on than just between our ears. Even science found out, I think 25 years ago, that our heart has actually its own net of neurons happening, on it independently from the brain. And I think when we talk about mind, people are still stuck. That is something, our brain, our pineal gland, and all the system there. Our DNA is an extreme, amazing antenna. Yet, how silly that we think that we are all human when only 1% of our genome is actually human. The rest we are like in symbiosis with microbiome and virome and all the other beings, so we can actually coexist. So we are mostly water, my friends, which is actually a state of water, and is passing, passing through us all the time, and the information as well. So the information which we receive through the water and we release with the water as well, I think with every moon cycle, it's actually exquisite. So we are limiting ourselves. Okay, not we. Most of us, including me, when I think of mind, I'm like, okay, how are my neurons firing? What's happening there? But there's so much more happening in our entire system, and not just physically, also what they call the aura field, or the, I don't know, esprit, or whatever you call it, the vibe. We are much bigger than just our body, and we are not just what we put ourselves on the scale and judge, measure, and define that this is us. And being able to tap into things means that there's literally, we are infinite potential. We are like a vortex ourselves, and we can tap into anything we want if you're open to it. This is why we call geniuses, because these people are actually open vessels to transmit the information coming from the ether, or from the infinite potential, just flows through and can express itself through those vessels. So there was something else I wanted to say about, Jenny, you just said it so beautifully, but I went on a little rant. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the space. If it comes back, it will come back. But you are on the right track, Jenny, and stay curious. And with the thoughts, how fascinated you are about thoughts, are they created between our ears, or are we just receiving them through our DNA and our aura field, and find a way to conduct it and to express it through us, Because I think we think that our ideas are our own, but I don't know about that. So, thanks.
Just wanted to do a quick recap for all the new people. We started off by talking about Eric Burleson's FFRDCs. We talked about Gresh's recent conference. We've talked about some of the recent kind of advancements in quantum technology, such as quantum computers, distributed quantum computing, artificial intelligence, like basically advancing like massively, in addition to new propulsion technologies that are coming out. And overall, like basically how like disclosure is more of like a socio-technical system. It's not just the government. It's not just social. It's not just technical. It's this massive system that's more complex than a lot of people put it out to be. So.
Yeah, I did. I just want to say, really good job. You and Ocean did all the work. I thought this was a pretty awesome space.
Did you guys notice that Ocean, not anytime anybody mentioned anything, she was on it. Like, I'm talking, I want you on my team for Jeopardy, if that's a possibility. If there's a Jeopardy, we should do Jeopardy. I'm on Ocean's team, and yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I was thinking about going on the panel to be a debater. I commented I might do that. I was thinking about it, and then Astral's like, "You're in." I'm gonna have to have me a little drink first, because I don't like to get very argumentative, and I feel like Debate Ocean needs a little bit of sassiness. But we'll see.
I
what
want to
happens.
argue. I love argument. I want to do it. Would that be just be fun? Like, just for the fun of it.
But I know Astrals is coming up. I'm just going to open up the discussion. Anything any of you guys want to talk about? If anybody, I know Gene and Whistling Mike have been here. You can either stay or split at this point. I'm just going to kind of like open it up to just general discussion, general hanging out. And then
I love talking to everybody. I do got to go, but good luck. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to drop down and listen. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I got reactivated. I know what I wanted to share, Jenny. Thank you, systems. I can always count on you. Okay. Hey, Ocean, you just said something about the equilibrium of the space we are in and the charge, the plus and the minus, and how we harvest energy through it. Biologists actually say they don't know what happens when we are dying, but they know the difference between a living and a dying cell. So the living cell is actually the lack of equilibrium. If you look at the living cell, they have a plus and a minus. It's a polarity. That's how the charge is happening. This is how it actually gets its sustenance and lives. The moment the cell reaches its equilibrium, that's the moment the cell dies and returns into its elements, like it decomposes. So I've just wanted to say that as a little of a nerd fact. Thank you, Hey Ocean.
Probably why we're spiraling, in the universe. Everything seems to have this sort of like a helical sort of a spin that could be, the constant motion. We're kinetic in general, right?
what asymmetric is one word, but yeah, non-equilibrium. You kind of need a state of non-equilibrium in order for a system to be in motion, right? Like,
Yes.
with electricity, as soon as we have like the same on either side, then I don't know, then it would be a balanced charge, and then we wouldn't have the flow of energy from one side to the other, right? Like it needs to flow to the negative. If there's no negative there, we wouldn't have the flow. So you need that pull of the energy across the medium. Yeah.
Sounds like torture, doesn't it? Like if you look at it and you apply that exact system to all of life, when it comes to good and evil, when it comes to happiness, sadness, when it comes to the polarities we experience in the world, like philosophically, right? You notice that they say that the reason there's evil is to recognize good. So we see it in every single system, and that's just sort of torture. So in order for one to be really, really great, one has to be not really, really great. So what's the point? I don't know. That was a good point you made there.
Like say, in order to grow, you have to eat food. In order to eat food, it has to go through your intestines, which means you have to eat, process, and meta poop is here and poop it out. So even our bodies ourselves are not in a state of equilibrium. That would be like if we just all of a sudden didn't have to eat anymore. Like then what would happen, right? We wouldn't be able to go through these systems of regeneration. So yeah, for any progress in the world, you have to put one foot in front of the other, which means that your emotion and movement. Go ahead, Meta.
Exactly. No options, no ability to choose. So what we call duality, in the way it's all the same, essentially, right? We are all essentially made of the same matter, but we express it differently, uniquely. So existence is paradoxalicious and fractalicious, and saying that this is the one way and the only way, you already create the charge. You already create the duality. Even if you say, we are all one, you already create a charge. People think like this. Dissolving duality means already saying we are one. That is a separation of something, because one is something. So it is about the separation. It is about the resilience training or resistance training. It's our muscles, our psyche, our thoughts. That's why you like to debate, because it's the addiction to friction, not just between our ears, also between our thighs. Why does it feel good to have this friction between your thighs and ears? Because you feel that there's a charge happening, and sometimes you birth things through your mind or through your reproductive organs, and it's all a matter of creation. So, and creation can only be when we have polarity going on, feminine, masculine, light, dark, whatever that is, and it's all simultaneously. I don't think that one happened and then the other followed. It's just all in superposition, and that's pretty exciting. How can something be on and off at the same time? Well, I don't know how, but we know that we are here, and we are all miracles, my dear friends. Thanks.
I'm just trying to figure out how to put that principle into the unseen. Like if we can, everything that we have and we see and we know, what's the opposite of that? And then how would we fit that into the other side? Then we could recognize it. Good talking today, both of you ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the discussion today. We got to go over a lot of cool stuff, share lots of information. I love that Gene dropped some document comparisons. I really want to dive in. I have his book. He actually, at Contact in the Desert, he signed a book for me. High Ocean in the book. I love that, man. But I need to read it. Yeah, I need to finish reading it and going through it, because I want to deep dive. I love comparing different countries to one another. I'm up here in Canada. We have Project Magnet, Second Story. We got a little bit of shit going on. We got the Sky Canada project. But like I said earlier, we all need to work together, and we all kind of have a piece of the puzzle. Even if you go back as far as like Paperclip and Matchbox, which was the Canadian and UK version. It's called Operation Matchbox. But, we all have a piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, sure. I've skimmed this book. I need to actually do like a thorough read through, which it's not like reading a story, right? You actually got to kind of look through it and cross-reference and stuff like that. But it looks pretty solid from what I've seen. Oh, also, Gene does have a Substack. If I'm gonna put it in the under the space comments. Check that out. And Gene's been doing like morning briefings as well. If you haven't given him a follow, give him a follow, and check out his morning briefings.
Gene's an excellent intel gatherer.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pick his brain on how he's gathering this information, because whatever system he's using is a lot better than the system I'm using. Because I'm trying to use agents and I'm trying to do manual stuff, and I'm not getting like the detail that he's able to gather.
Well, I've traveled the remote villages here in Alaska, and I've learned some interesting techniques. You learn to speak to the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky.
What?
Got him.
Hey, why don't you take this moment to plug the event in August there, Snippy the horse?
Thank you, my favorite Canadian. This August 13th to 16th in Mosca, Colorado, will be the Snippy event. This will be my third year speaking there. Jay Anderson will be speaking there for his first year ever. And we have a whole bunch of folks coming that were together at the Contact event. We had so much fun that we're all basically regathering for this Snippy event to kind of just, I guess in a way, lead by example, that the power of human contact and communication is better than this digital environment. So I welcome everybody to come out to this event and, start to appreciate humanity again. We discuss all of the things that are going on in these spaces. There's all kinds of speakers, researchers, investigators. So the topics are on point. And if you want to find out more, you can go to snippy.space. And I hope to meet more folks there. Thanks, Ocean.
For sure. I put the link to the website and then a little bit of information there that's in the post in the nest for anyone that's interested.
Who's better than you?
That's awesome. I can't make it this year, maybe next. I did want to kind of make this announcement. I think I'm going to start doing these about every 2 weeks, every 2 to 3 weeks, to kind of cover government actions, government disclosure, progress that has been made, and potentially even some of the field research that's going on. I just need to figure out a day and a time to do it every 2 to 3 weeks.
Make it a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Noted. Does anybody have any last words? We got a few minutes before I need to close down, and then I got to prepare for some other stuff.
Of course, yes. Thank you so much, Data, for hosting this space and providing a place for us to speak. Thank you for having me co-host. Appreciate it. It's an honor to work with you. And I'll catch you in the next one for sure. Great space, everyone.
Thanks, Data. Thanks, Ocean. Thanks, everybody.
No problem. I'll catch everybody on the flip side.
Do they sound like?